Chapter 449. Huge waves surged into the sky as blood filled the air. The two figures merged into one and sped along on the blood waves. There were terrifying beasts everywhere in the blood sea of hell. The first level was already filled with danger. It was hard to imagine what they would encounter if they continued. Hell was boundless. There was no beginning or end. It existed in another space-time, and had nothing to do with the endless planes. It was only because the cycle of reincarnation covered all the universes that it could connect to any plane. Yi Qinghan's eyes flickered as he looked at the sea of blood. He couldn't see beyond 10 miles. They couldn't fly, which greatly limited their speed. There were chains in the sky, imprisoning everything. The two walked down step by step. The 9 serenities hell seemed to only have the sea of blood and mountains of corpses. There were also those terrifying beasts whose names were unknown. All that was left was a silent space. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Lightning flashed across the sky, illuminating the 9 serenities hell. The terrifying scene and the moving skeletons were constantly stirring, making one's courage crack. Yi Qinghan was expressionless. Emperor Yi was fearless in front of Yi Qinghan. Boom. Roar. The two were invincible as they killed their way to the end. It took them a long time to reach the end of the first level of the 9 serenities hell. However, what awaited them was thousands of Yin soldiers. Every Yin soldier had the cultivation of a boundary emperor. Some of the soldier kings had even reached the level of a ghost emperor. Yi Qinghan looked ahead and narrowed his eyes into a line. There were at least 1,000,000 Yin soldiers in front of them. 1,000,000 boundary emperors. Among them, the centurions were all at the martial emperor level. The one leading the army might be a real great emperor. Facing such an army, any great emperor would be blasted to pieces. How dare you create trouble in the 9 serenities hell? Surrender and await your execution. The great emperor leading the army rebuked angrily. Kill. The 1,000,000 Yin soldiers raised their spears and roared. Their voices shook the sky and swept up huge waves. Such an aura was enough to scare a boundary emperor to death. Even a great emperor would tremble. Yi Qinghan grasped the frenzy hammer tightly and asked in a low voice, "Son, are you afraid?" "No. As long as Master is here, there is nothing to be afraid of." Emperor Yi hugged the emperor's zither and stared at the Yin soldiers. He mustered up his courage and spoke. "Ha! I'll take you to hell." Yi Qinghan raised his head and laughed heartily. With a wave of his hand, the mirror of reincarnation appeared. His soul activated the supreme treasure of primordial chaos. The light of reincarnation swept out, leaving nothing in front of him. Kill. This time, it was not the ghost soldiers who roared, but Yi Qinghan who roared. The momentum was strong enough. The two of them attacked the 1,000,000 ghost soldiers. The reincarnation mirror opened the way, and was invincible. The blood sea sank. The ghost soldiers died tragically and roared. The formation was in chaos. The momentum was suppressed by Yi Qinghan. Whoosh. The reincarnation mirror chased after the general of the Yin soldiers. Once the general fled, the other Yin soldiers naturally wouldn't wait for death. They all fled into the distance. Retreat. Retreat to Samsara City. Yi Qinghan naturally wouldn't let go of this opportunity to completely crush the Yin soldiers, and he immediately chased after them. In the second layer of hell, the chains above were even denser. They stood 1,000 meters above the ground. Lightning would occasionally pierce through the chains and attack the blood sea. Corpses and bones floated in the air. It was a horrifying sight. At the center of the second layer of the 9 serenities hell, a sinister city was built on a withered sea of blood. It floated on the surface of the sea of blood, and would never sink. As soon as a corpse touched the wall, it would be absorbed and disappear without a trace. The city was huge, as big as a region. It was filled with ghost soldiers. With a throw of their spears, they would pierce through thousands of miles and attack Yi Qinghan. This was to buy time for the ghost soldiers to enter the city. Emperor Yi didn't hesitate to use his strength to pierce through all the incoming spears. This saved Yi Qinghan a lot of energy as he continued to kill the ghost soldiers. Boom. The light of reincarnation blasted towards Samsara City. However, something strange happened. The moment the light of reincarnation touched the walls of Samsara City, it was absorbed by a suction force from within the city. It didn't cause any damage. Yi Qinghan was shocked. He hurriedly put away the mirror of reincarnation to conserve his soul energy. Everything had its restraints. He didn't expect the mirror of reincarnation to be restrained by this city. Yi Qinghan frowned. He had relied on the mirror of reincarnation to enter the 9 nether underworld. He didn't expect it to be stopped at the 2nd layer. Then how could he enter the next 16 layers? Master, let me try. Emperor Yi pulled on the zither and leveled it in the air. He moved his feet again and actually sat cross-legged on top of Yi Qinghan's head. His fingers tightened around the 9 strings of the zither, and the strings were taut. He pressed down lightly, but there was no melody at all. He casually pulled back, and his true essence poured out. Hell moves. 9 heavens. Hua. The blood sea was stirred up. Huge waves rushed towards Samsara City. The ghost soldiers were shocked. They looked at the blood sea rushing towards the city. The 1,000-meter-tall city didn't seem to be able to stop the blood sea. Once the city was submerged, the ghost soldiers would be devoured alive by the ferocious spirits. Roar. The ferocious spirits were furious. They couldn't leave the blood sea. Once they left the blood sea, they would be destroyed by the formless order. However, once the blood sea submerged the city, they could rush into the city. The ghost soldiers were their food. Any living thing with flesh and blood was their food. 10 meters, 100 meters, 200 meters. The sea level was getting higher and higher. The blood sea surged in from all directions. The ferocious spirits added fuel to the fire. The ghost soldiers were in chaos. No matter how many ghost soldiers there were, they couldn't outnumber the ferocious spirits in the blood sea. These spirits had been accumulating for countless years. They were extremely powerful. Through continuous devouring, their individual combat power was no weaker than the ghost soldiers. They also outnumbered the ghost soldiers. If it wasn't for the order of hell that prevented them from leaving the blood sea, hell would have been their world. Stop. Stop right there. The commander of the ghost soldiers was shocked and shouted angrily. Continue. Yi Qinghan said calmly. Emperor Ye's 10 fingers were bleeding, staining the emperor's zither red. The emperor's zither was even more powerful. The blood sea rushed to a height of 500 meters. Roar. The ferocious spirits tore the blood sea apart. They wanted to break out of the confinement and devour the ghost soldiers. Some of the ferocious spirits that were strong enough to break out of the confinement charged out of the blood sea. However, they didn't attack Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi. They had been living for countless years, and were already intelligent. They were just using each other. If you have any requests, just say it. Don't do it. The commander of the ghost soldiers shouted in horror. Emperor Yi didn't stop. Instead, he increased the speed of his attacks. The sound of the zither was restless. Every melody brought about a large blood sea. Fellow Taoist, please don't do it. You're destroying the order of hell. If you want to pass by, we'll open the city gates and let you pass. The commander of the ghost soldiers couldn't care less anymore. Stop, Yi Qinghan said calmly. The sound of the zither stopped abruptly. The ferocious spirits were unwilling to give up. They roared and charged toward Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi. Boom. Yi Qinghan clenched his fists. He punched out the 5 elements dragon and smashed the ferocious spirits. The ghost soldiers turned pale. Even the commander of the ghost soldiers swallowed his saliva. He didn't want to be entangled with Yi Qinghan anymore. Swish. Yi Qinghan flew up and left the blood sea. He stood 100 meters above the city and waited for the Samsara city to open the city gates. The blood sea lowered to the sea level. With a creak, the city gates opened. The city gates, which were 100 meters high and 1,000 meters wide, were lifted up slowly. They stopped when they were about 10 meters high. Yi Qinghan looked into the city and found that there were natives in the 9th nether hell. However, they were ordinary spirits. They didn't commit too many sins. That was why they could live in the city. The ferocious spirits were all suppressed under the blood sea. The ghost soldiers slowly retreated. They were wary of Yi Qinghan. Boom. Yi Qinghan stepped into the city. The city gates closed. The city was made of bones and filled with all kinds of great Tao principles. It could devour everything. No wonder it could suppress the reincarnation mirror. Yi Qinghan stepped on the bones and walked into the city. He held the reincarnation mirror in his hand again. He stared coldly at the commander of the ghost soldiers. He didn't dare to move. My friends, you are still alive. Why did you enter the ninth nether? The commander of the ghost soldiers asked angrily. I want to ask you the same question. I am still alive. Why did you drag me into the reincarnation mirror? Yi Qinghan asked coldly. The commander of the ghost soldiers was shocked. He didn't know how to answer. Yi Qinghan didn't look fake. He didn't enter the ninth nether of his own accord. I've lived for so long. I've only seen a few people who accidentally entered the ninth nether. They were all buried in the blood sea. Their bodies were devoured by the ferocious spirits. Leave quickly. I won't make things difficult for you. The commander of the ghost soldiers looked at the reincarnation mirror in Yi Qinghan's hand. He knew he couldn't afford to offend them. He wanted to send the demons away as soon as possible. How do we leave? How do we return to the outside world? Yi Qinghan frowned and asked. I don't know. Those who entered the ninth nether never left. Otherwise, I would have left long ago. Why would I stay in this gloomy place where even birds don't shit? I can't even see the second color. The commander of the ghost soldiers said helplessly. Then do you know what's guarding the third layer of hell? Yi Qinghan asked. The commander of the ghost soldiers shook his head and said hoarsely. The third layer isn't responsible. I know nothing about the lower layers. Yi Qinghan was silent for a moment. He looked at the endless ghosts and asked in a deep voice. If I want to find the dead, how can I find them? That's impossible. There's no chance at all. Do you know how big the ninth nether is? How many ghosts are there? There are countless cities like this. There are trillions of ghosts in this city. There are trillions of ghosts in the depths of the blood sea. They devour each other. Most of the ferocious spirits have been devoured. They don't even have the chance to reincarnate. The commander of the ghost soldiers replied without hesitation. Don't lie to me. It's impossible for there to be no division of responsibilities. Yi Qinghan narrowed his eyes and threatened with the mirror of reincarnation. All right. Each city is responsible for one plane. If you want to find the dead, you have to tell me which plane you are in. I'll see if I can help you find it. The commander of the ghost soldiers smiled bitterly. The endless plane, Yi Qinghan said in a deep voice. The commander of the ghost soldiers had obviously never heard of this plane. The endless plane was just one of the smallest planes in the universe. There were countless planes like this in the universe. There are many planes in the universe. There are too many of them, especially the small planes. They are responsible for small cities. I don't even know how many of these small cities there are. Even the big cities here have 30,000. Each big city is responsible for 30,000 small cities, and each small city is responsible for 30,000 small planes. Think about it. How many small cities are there in the second layer? 900,000. Where are you going to find them? The commander of the ghost soldiers said helplessly. Yi Qinghan took a deep breath and was silent for a long time. In short, there are no endless planes in the 30,000 small cities I'm responsible for. You can go to other cities to find them. The commander of the ghost soldiers suggested. He wanted to send Yi Qinghan away as soon as possible. Yi Qinghan smiled. How long would it take to find 30,000 large cities? A year? Or 100 years? He didn't have that much time. Chapter 450. Since ancient times, the Nether soldiers had only made way for them and no one dared to stop them. Now that Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi had opened up a path, the world's first Nether soldiers had made way for them. However, the outside world would never record this and the 9 underworlds would never record this shame. Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi passed through Reincarnation City and recalled the information that the commander of the Nether soldiers had told them. There were 9 largest cities on the second level. They controlled the 8 directions and the center respectively. These 9 cities controlled all the cities on the second level. However, there were countless cultivators inside. Reincarnation City like this could not compare to them. Ren Huangye's move of hell could not possibly force the 9 cities to submit to him. We are now at the easternmost area. After leaving Reincarnation City's territory and passing through 3 small cities, we will reach Divine Spectre City. This is one of the 9 cities. Let's see if there are any familiar faces on the second level. Yi Qinghan said in a low voice. Ultimate powerhouses like Emperor Supwake and Emperor Pangolin couldn't come back to life. They had already become Tao incarnated, and their souls no longer existed. They couldn't be in hell, so the only ones he could find were Ming Ke, and Xiao Worcester's heroic spirits. The two traveled all the way to the first small city and easily subdued thousands of Nether soldiers. In order to conserve energy, they borrowed the Nether soldiers' clothes and went straight to the second city. Disguised as Nether soldiers, the two sped up and passed through the second city with almost no obstacles. They arrived at the third city. The city gates opened and the two entered the city. They kept their heads down and did not look at the other Nether soldiers. When they reached the center of the city, they were stopped by a powerful young ghost spirit in brocade clothes and a group of Nether soldiers. Yi Qinghan frowned. He did not expect to meet foppish people everywhere. Why haven't I seen these two Nether soldiers? They have the aura of living beings. The young ghost spirit was probably a consummate boundary emperor and could be considered an elite. However, his eyes were fixed on Emperor Yi behind him. Emperor Yi wore a cloak that covered his white hair and only revealed his peerless face. He attracted the young ghost spirit's attention. Guiling's eyes flickered as he approached, but Yi Qinghan blocked his path. Yi Qinghan said in a hoarse voice, "My lord, we are currently following the orders of Lord Tianyu from Reincarnation City to Divine Spectre City. My lord, please do not delay the orders." Commander Tianyu? Guiling's pupils shrank. Apparently there was fear in his eyes. This small city belonged to the Samsara city. Tianyu was famous for his ruthlessness. Warrant. Guiling was somewhat doubtful. Commander Tianyu had countless capable people by his side. He did not believe that he would send out two nameless pawns. Yi Qinghan frowned and asked, "Are you sure you want to hear it?" What a joke! Since when did Lord Tianyu issue any verbal orders? Seize him. The ghost spirit sneered and gestured for the Yin soldiers behind him to capture Yi Qinghan, while he himself pounced towards Emperor Yi. Boom! Yi Qinghan punched out 5 dragons and shattered all the Yin soldiers. He grabbed the powerful ghost spirit by the neck and his eyes were filled with murderous intent. Who are you? How dare you impersonate a Yin soldier? Guiling was frightened and did not dare to move. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, a large number of Yin soldiers had surrounded this place, and a large number of them were charging towards this place. Crack! Yi Qinghan crushed Guiling's leg bone with his foot, and the ghost spirit was so frightened that he retreated. Ah! The powerful ghost spirit had been spoiled since he was young. He had never suffered such a blow before. The sharp pain from his body made him scream and roar. His face was distorted and he almost fainted. Who dares to be rude to young Master Li? Let go of young master. When the city lord arrives, he will definitely send you into the blood sea. The Yin soldiers scolded angrily. They surrounded them but did not attack. The experts gradually approached, but they were afraid to attack because this so-called young Master Li was in Yi Qinghan's hands. At this moment, a black shadow flashed past the city lord's residence. City lord, something bad has happened. 2 unfamiliar Yin soldiers came to the city. They said that they were going to Divine Spectre City under Lord Tianyu's orders. They were stopped by second young Master Li and killed a few of our Yin soldiers. They even captured second young master. A ghost spirit who looked like a servant kneeled on the ground and reported respectfully. The city lord was an old man who was as thin as a match. No one knew how long this body of flesh and blood had existed. His cultivation could not be seen, but to be able to reach the position of city lord, even if it was a small city lord, his cultivation would not be weaker than a great emperor. The old man flashed and appeared in the center of the city. He looked down at Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi behind him. Who are the two of you? You are still alive. You are not ghosts or Yin soldiers. How dare you behave so atrociously in the land of 9 underworlds? Are you tired of living? The city lord asked coldly. Yi Qinghan took off his cloak and stared at the old man. The light of reincarnation in his eyes was filled with killing intent. It was as if he wanted to bring the land of 9 underworlds into reincarnation. He was almost at the greater success realm of reincarnation. The city lord's pupils shrank as he retreated in horror. He had lived for so long, but he had never seen a ghost spirit who had cultivated the great Tao of reincarnation to such a pure state. He did not believe that Yi Qinghan was not a ghost spirit. Yi Qinghan's aura surged, forcing the city lord to lower himself and look at Yi Qinghan at the same level. I am under Lord Tianyou's orders to head to Divine Spectre City. Are you going to stop me? Yi Qinghan reprimanded impatiently. Are you really Lord Tianyou's subordinate? Why have I never seen you before? The city lord asked coldly. Do you know Lord Tianyou's background? Yi Qinghan sneered. Father, save me. Kill this despicable ghost. I want to crush him. Ah. Second young masterly cursed, humiliated. But Yi Qinghan crushed his shoulder blade, causing him to scream in pain. The city lord was silent. He waved his hand and said in a low voice, Don't be angry. Let go of Li Feng, this unfilial son. I will send someone to ask Lord Tianyou. If you are really acting on orders, I will definitely apologize and make way. I don't have much time. Hurry up and ask. If you don't have an answer after an incense stick's worth of time, I will kill my way out, Yi Qinghan said coldly. Countless ghost spirits were shocked. No one had ever dared to use force in the city. Yi Qinghan was not just strong, he was simply abnormal. He even dared to provoke Second Young Master Li. Second Young Master Li had no power, but his father was the city lord. In addition, his sister was married to the eldest son of a big force in the Divine Spectre City. Although she was only a concubine, Commander Tianyou still had to give her some face. Second Young Master Li dared not go to more than a dozen small and medium-sized cities. As long as he did not provoke Tianyou, he was absolutely safe. The old city lord formed a seal with his palms and used a secret technique to send a message to Samsara City. A huge virtual mirror appeared in the void. At first it was a blur. Then the projection of Commander Tianyou appeared in front of everyone. Commander Tianyou glanced at the city and saw Yi Qinghan. The corner of his mouth twitched. Yi Qinghan sent this so-called Second Young Master Li flying with a kick. He raised his head and smiled wickedly. My lord, you asked me to pass on a message, but unfortunately, I was blocked. I have no choice but to trouble you to explain. Tianyou did not dare to offend this jinx. When he thought of what Yi Qinghan said before he left, he could not help but tremble. He could not wait for this jinx to leave his sphere of influence. He immediately scolded the city lord. Li Chang, does it mean that my subordinates can't enter your city? Boom. Lord, I don't dare. It's just that these two people are very unfamiliar, and they don't look like ghost soldiers. I want to verify it. Li Chang broke out in a cold sweat. Seeing the change in Tianyou's expression, he knew that Tianyou did not dare to provoke Yi Qinghan. His heart could not help but sink to the bottom of the blood sea. He thought to himself, did this unfilial son provoke a young master in a big city? Get out of the way. Do you want me to pass on the message in person? Tianyou said angrily. Lord, please. My son is ignorant and has offended both of you. Please don't take it to heart. Li Chang lowered his head and broke out in a cold sweat. Yi Qinghan smiled disdainfully. He looked at the second young master of Li Feng, who was lying on the ground, and killing intent flashed in his eyes. He then looked at Commander Tianyou and said indifferently, Lord, after I complete my mission, I will definitely pay you a visit if I have the chance. Ha ha ha, you're welcome at any time. The corner of Tianyou's mouth twitched, but he thought to himself, you jinx, hurry up and go deeper. If you survive, don't come back. Yi Qinghan led Emperor Yi through the center of the city and walked deeper into the city. In the center of the city, Li Chang looked at Tianyou with an embarrassed expression. His heart was in a mess, and he was afraid that he would offend someone from a big faction. He quickly asked, Lord, which city are those two young masters from? My son definitely did not mean it. Father, quickly help me kill. Li Feng roared. He was humiliated in front of his own home today. He could not tolerate it. How could he raise his head and face people in the city in the future? Slap. Li Chang sent Li Feng flying with a fierce slap. He hated that he did not fight back, and then looked at Tianyou awkwardly. Tianyou looked at Li Feng and smiled disdainfully. He then shook his head and said, Anyway, just don't provoke him. With that, Tianyou took the initiative to block Li Chang's transmission, and disappeared from everyone's sight. Father. Li Feng looked at Li Chang in shock. This was the first time Li Chang had hit him, and it was in public. He found it unbelievable. Bastard. I told you to keep a low profile. Keep a low profile. The ninth underworld is not like other places. Who knows how many terrifying existences are trapped in the cycle of reincarnation every day. If you provoke one, it's enough for us to wipe out your entire family. Why are you so reckless? Li Chang rebuked angrily. Those two just now were only quasi-emperors. Li Feng said unwillingly. Bastard! Don't you know how to look at their eyes? Even great god Tianyu does not dare to provoke them. Are they ordinary quasi-emperors? Li Chang was so angry that his whole body trembled. He shook his head and left. All the ghost spirits fled dejectedly. They were unwilling to provoke the angry father and son. The center of the city was suddenly empty. Li Feng's eyes flashed with resentment. He had lived for thousands of years and had never been so embarrassed. He covered his face and returned to the city lord's residence. He opened the message talisman. Brother, I was bullied. Help me kill them. Li Feng looked pitifully at the handsome young man in the mirror. His body was full of vitality. He did not look like a ghost spirit at all. Instead, he looked like a prince in the human world. His blood was vigorous and extremely powerful. Chapter 451. The eerie hellstorm swept up waves of blood. Only ghosts could survive in this world. Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi rushed toward Divine Spectre City. Inside Divine Spectre City, Li Feng's cousin, the handsome youth, stood on the city wall with two powerful ghosts, overlooking the endless sea of blood. Young master, Li Feng has always been causing trouble. Why do you have to trouble yourself over his matters? A ghost spirit said respectfully. I have no interest in him, but I am interested in those two ghosts. To be able to suppress Commander Tianyu and make him not dare to say anything, they must have a strong background. The youth said calmly. Young master, you want to take them in? The two ghosts were shocked. There weren't many things that could tempt this youth. The youth's lips curled up and a proud smile appeared on his handsome face. As a ghost spirit, he could reverse his physical body. With a physical body in hell, his combat strength was naturally stronger. He didn't care about the creatures on the second level. He only wanted to enter the 18th level and become the disciple of one of the three supreme lords of hell. He wanted to be the first to walk out of hell. He was one of the top 10 young ghosts on the second level, Guzihan. His combat strength surpassed the average commander. Even Commander Tianyu had to respectfully call him young master in front of him, and didn't dare to be impudent. Let's see if they have the fortune, Guzihan said calmly. If those two are experts, won't your battle with Wind God be affected? The ghost spirit reminded kindly. I don't care about a puny Feng Wuxia. He's just a ghost spirit from a small plane who has comprehended the profound of wind to great success. If he didn't become the disciple of Deep Wind City's city lord, why would I care about him? Guzihan said disdainfully. Besides, even if those two are experts, I don't care about anyone on the second level except for those few people. Feng Wuxia, great success in the profound of wind. Small plane. If Yi Qinghan were here, he would definitely associate Feng Wuxia with Feng Wuxia from the Endless Plains. In fact, the two of them were indeed the same person. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi faced the cold wind and killed countless evil spirits along the way. The chains in the sky were like terrifying creatures that wanted to take their lives. They kept on stirring, and even the chains in the depths of the sea of blood were stirred up. It was a hair-raising sight. Emperor Yi extended his divine senses downwards, and when he saw countless ferocious ghost spirits, his face turned pale. There were so many ferocious spirits down there. Even a great emperor would be devoured instantly if he fell in, let alone them. Emperor Yi had the zither immortal crimson demon physique. He possessed spirituality and was the best tonic for the evil spirits. At this moment, they were following Yi Qinghan's footsteps and kept swimming into the distance. The evil spirits gathered and crowded together. They actually started to kill each other. The sea of blood immediately surged, and was so disgusting that it made one want to vomit. Emperor Yi felt a chill run down his spine. He immediately sat on Yi Qinghan's shoulder, and buried his head in his hands, unwilling to take another look. Don't look down there. Yi Qinghan was helpless. Even he didn't want to look at the disgusting scene down there, let alone a simple-minded girl. Ren Huangyi calmed down and gazed into the distance. A towering city pierced through the dome and broke through the shackles of the iron chains. It pierced through the clouds. It was so majestic that one could not help but respect it. Guzihan stood on the protruding city wall in front of them. His physical body was so dazzling. Yi Qinghan could feel the terrifying qi and blood on his body from far away. The two of them approached the divine specter city. Although the city gates were wide open, there were several powerful Yin soldier commanders blocking the city gates. All the Yin soldiers on the streets had to go through a strict inspection. Yi Qinghan stood not far away and looked at Guzihan. Guzihan's eyes flashed. He could tell that Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi were the two people that Li Feng had mentioned. With a tap of his feet, his clothes fluttered. He jumped down from the sky and appeared in front of Yi Qinghan. Seeing Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi as powerful souls, his eyes flashed with surprise. He didn't expect to meet experts who were on par with him here, especially Emperor Yi. She looked like a pure and flawless jade. Her round face had a charm to it. Anyone who saw her couldn't help but want to get close to her. Where are the two of you from? You don't seem to have reached the end of your lifespan. You shouldn't be here. Guzihan asked coldly. We are here. If you don't have anything else, please step aside. Yi Qinghan calmly replied. As the guard commander of the Divine Spectre City, I naturally have to investigate the identity of every person who enters the city to prevent evil spirits from sneaking into the city. You better cooperate with my investigation. Guzihan said in a low voice. Ghost spirits were forbidden from devouring their own kind. However, evil spirits were different. They ignored the law and enjoyed devouring each other. They would constantly strengthen their souls in order to defy the heavens and ascend to the peak again. Therefore, evil spirits were forbidden from appearing in the city. What do you want to know? Yi Qinghan raised his eyebrows and asked. Where are the two of you from and where are you going? Guzihan's eyes shone with disdain. He didn't allow anyone to refute him. We are from the human world and are going to the human world. Are you satisfied with this answer? Yi Qinghan calmly replied. Ha ha ha. Guzihan wasn't the only one laughing. Even the two powerful ghost spirits beside him were laughing. They were laughing at Yi Qinghan's ignorance. People who have just entered the 9 underworlds want to return to the human world. After all, this place is dark and gloomy. There is no life here. There are stinking corpses and a sea of blood everywhere. There is nothing to miss. However, they will either be buried in the depths of the sea of blood or obediently stay in the city as an ordinary ghost spirit and wait for reincarnation. Guzihan's lips curled up. He disdainfully said, as the son of a city lord and with the ghost spirit divine body, I am waiting for an opportunity. I didn't force my way into the 9 underworlds. Aren't the two of you overconfident? Or are you just ignorant? The two ghost spirits beside Guzihan snorted in disdain. They looked at Yi Qinghan as if they were looking at an idiot. You're not like us. We've made it all the way from the first level of the 9 underworlds, and we haven't encountered any powerful existences. Even the great emperors can't stop us. If you're not confident, then please step aside. Yi Qinghan replied in a low voice. My duty is to maintain the order of the 2nd level. You have disrupted the will that I have set, so you are my enemy. If you defeat me, you can naturally enter the city. If you lose, you can either follow me or choose to be buried here. Which will you choose? Guzihan looked down at Yi Qinghan and asked in a low voice. Emperor Yi pursed his lips and looked at Guzihan. He didn't have any ill feelings towards him. Perhaps it was because he was made of flesh and blood. However, this guy was too arrogant. They hadn't even fought, and he already wanted them to choose if they lost. It was as if victory was certain. We haven't even fought and you want us to choose. Are you sure you will win? Emperor Yi asked in a muffled voice. What a joke. Who is my young master? Who are you people? The ghost spirits beside Guzihan asked in disdain. Fighting depends on one's cultivation, not one's family background. For someone like your young master, even I can suppress him, let alone my master. It's not good to be too arrogant. Emperor Yi spoke the truth, but in the other party's ears, it was an incomprehensible mockery. Guzihan's expression changed. No one had ever dared to speak to him like this. Today, he was actually being looked down upon by a little girl. He was a little angry and said coldly, If you can defeat me, you can go anywhere you want in the second level of hell. I will open the way for you. Yi Qinghan smiled and didn't object. Emperor Ye's combat power was on par with his. It shouldn't be a problem for him to defeat Gu Zihan. Remember what you said. If you lose, you can't go back on your words. Emperor Yi deliberately provoked Gu Zihan. What did a strong person like him hate the most? Of course he hated being seen by a beauty. As long as he defeated Gu Zihan, he could save a lot of time in the second level. Gu Zihan's mouth twitched. He clenched his fists and looked at Emperor Ye's disdainful expression. He really wanted to twist her ear and teach her a lesson. What if I win? Gu Zihan asked in a muffled voice. If you win, I will open the way for you in the human world. You can do whatever you want. I will be your little follower. Emperor Yi said without hesitation. Gu Zihan was speechless. Wasn't that the same as not saying anything? They couldn't leave the 9 underworlds. However, he didn't care. As long as he defeated Emperor Yi wouldn't be able to escape in the second level of hell. He would still be a follower. All right. Gu Zihan was extremely angry and immediately agreed. Emperor Yi waved his hand and the human emperor's zither appeared in his hand. He stood on Yi Qinghan's shoulder and didn't leave. He looked down at Gu Zihan and said, My master won't attack and won't move. As long as you don't attack my master, you win if you can knock me off his shoulder. Gu Zihan's lips curled up. This was too simple. Then watch carefully. If I can't force you off his shoulder in 3 moves, I lose. The two of them started competing. Both of them wanted to defeat the other more forcefully. A divine weapon that was overflowing with cold air appeared in Gu Zihan's hand. It actually froze the blood sea. Yi Qinghan retreated 100 meters and put some distance between him and Gu Zihan. He put his hands behind his back and looked at his opponent indifferently. Emperor Yi tiptoed and looked at Gu Zihan provocatively, waiting for him to attack. Gu Zihan was extremely angry. It was nothing to be looked down upon by others, but it was too embarrassing to be looked down upon by a little girl. Moreover, it was an extremely beautiful little girl. A little girl that moved his heart. Icebound 1,000 miles. Whoosh. The sword aura surged and a thick layer of ice appeared on the blood sea. It kept extending outwards. The sword aura pierced through the void and attacked Emperor Yi, who was on Yi Qinghan's shoulder. Gu Zihan's control was excellent. The sword aura didn't leak out and didn't attack Yi Qinghan. However, it wrapped Emperor Yi tightly. As long as she didn't leave Yi Qinghan's shoulder, she would definitely be destroyed. Emperor Yi plucked the strings of his zither. Strands of music surrounded the sword aura that was rushing towards him. His body made a strange posture and fell backwards, avoiding the strongest sword aura. However, the tip of his foot didn't leave Yi Qinghan's side at all. This is the first move. Emperor Yi said proudly. He didn't attack Gu Zihan. It won't do you any good to provoke me. Gu Zihan was furious. His eyes shone brightly as he stared at Emperor Ye's ankle. He put his palms together and held the divine weapon tightly. He became one with the sword and pierced through the shackles of time and space as he attacked Emperor Yi. Ice reversal. Whoosh! The sword pierced through Yi Qinghan's shoulder. It was so fast that it was impossible to dodge. Chapter 452. The sword light swept past Emperor Ye's ankle, trying to force Emperor Yi away. However, Emperor Yi seemed to be glued to Yi Qinghan's body. He swept past Yi Qinghan's neck from his right shoulder to his left. He waited for Gu Zihan to rush past him before slipping past him. Emperor Yi smiled faintly and turned to look at Gu Zihan. He hugged his divine zither and only blocked the sword chi, not the sword in his hand. I still have one last move, Emperor Yi said with a smile. Gu Zihan's face turned green. She had never felt so powerless. Although she had used all her strength, Emperor Yi was only dodging within a limited distance. If she could not attack him, she would not be a match for him. Do you really think I can't do anything to you? Gu Zihan's aura turned cold. She no longer had any tender feelings for the fairer sex. Her ghostly divine body shone with divine light, which did not fit in with the gloomy 9 serenities hell. Specks of divine light emerged from the sea of blood and rushed into Gu Zihan's body. Yi Qinghan used his divine senses to look behind him. The 5 elements aura spread out from his body and wrapped around him. It automatically defended and could explode at any time. As long as Gu Zihan could really hurt Emperor Yi, it meant that Gu Zihan had already attacked him. It was understandable that he would help Emperor Yi defend. Divine light illuminates all, return to origin. Hua. Purification technique. It could purify all ghostly spirits. As long as it was a spiritual body, it could be suppressed. Emperor Yi's eyebrows twitched. He realized that the divine light emitted by the purification technique could strengthen his soul. This meant that Gu Zihan's attack was not aimed at him, but to add energy to him. Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi were like water and milk. Naturally, she could sense Emperor Yi's thoughts. She focused on defending herself. Emperor Yi not only had the zither immortal body, but also a pure heart. Everything about him was pure. The purification technique had no effect on him. However, Yi Qinghan was different. This purification technique could definitely suppress his soul. Whoosh! The divine light enveloped Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi. White smoke rose from the sea of blood beneath Yi Qinghan's feet. It was purified as it approached the divine light. Emperor Yi put away the zither of the Runhuang and took the initiative to absorb the divine light. His soul spirit grew stronger and stronger. The divine light covered his eyes, and Gu Zihan could not see what was going on inside. However, he saw that Emperor Yi had already been injured. He could not help but say coldly, "If you admit defeat on your own, I will spare you." I'm so scared. This divine light can actually hurt me, Sai. Emperor Yi's crisp voice rang out. However, there was no trace of fear in it. In fact, there was even a hint of joy. Yi Qinghan. Gu Zihan looked at the divine light in confusion. He could feel that Yi Qinghan was resisting with all his might. But why was Emperor Yi speaking in such a tone? Young master, it doesn't seem to be of any use to her. Why do I feel that the divine light is fading? Are you going easy on her? The 2 spirits asked in surprise. Gu Zihan really wanted to send the 2 spirits flying with a slap. This was his last move. How could he go easy on her? This was already his full strength. Gradually, the divine light dissipated. All of it was absorbed by Emperor Yi. It became even more holy, like a crystal-clear goddess. No one dared to profane her. Yi Qinghan exhaled a turbid breath. This divine light could purify all evil souls. His soul was definitely not pure, but Emperor Yi's soul was extremely pure. Even if she had killed someone, it would not affect her pure heart. How can this be? Isn't she the spiritual body of 9 Nether? Could she be from the Middle Realm? Gu Zihan muttered. He could not help but take a few steps back. He looked at Emperor Yi with a sly smile on his face. You've lost. Little sidekick, do you keep your word? Emperor Yi lowered his head and looked at Gu Zihan seriously. It was unbearable to look at. He felt extremely guilty even if he wanted to act shamelessly. Gu Zihan muttered. He did not know what to do. Young master, she's not afraid of the purification spell. She's not human. The spirits rubbed their hands together and said, Why don't we help you get rid of them? Get lost. When have I ever gone back on my word? Am I someone who would lie to a little girl? Gu Zihan reprimanded angrily. Emperor Yi could not help but nod. He said approvingly, That's what a young talent is. You keep your word. I admire you. After receiving Emperor Yi's approval, Gu Zihan's expression could not help but improve. He cupped his fists and said proudly, I'm afraid it's not that easy for you to enter the 3rd level. I can send you out of the 2nd level. I still have some influence there. It was not that Gu Zihan was not strong. It was just that he met a freak like Emperor Yi. Otherwise, in the entire hell, other than those super existences, he would be the overlord of a large level. Who could suppress the purification spell? No. I'm not asking you to send us out of the 2nd level. We're looking for someone. We're also looking for a city in a small plain. Emperor Yi quickly said. Looking for a plain? Which small plain? Gu Zihan asked in surprise. The Endless Plain. Please help us. After all, you have prestige in the 2nd level. As outsiders, we don't know where to start. Yi Qinghan said in a low voice. Gu Zihan immediately raised his head. Yi Futian's words had struck a chord in his heart. He had helped Yi Qinghan and Yi Futian at this time because he was more capable and had taken the initiative to help Yi Qinghan and Yi Futian. It was not because he had lost to Emperor Yi that he had no choice but to help. Endless Plain. I seem to have heard of it before. Gu Zihan thought for a moment and suddenly felt that it sounded familiar. Young master, didn't that wind god come from the Endless Plain? The two ghost spirits reminded. Yes. Feng Wuxia came from the Endless Plain. The Endless Plain should be under the influence of Wind Abyss City. Those who die there, as long as their souls are not scattered, will be reincarnated and brought to the big and small cities under the influence of Wind Abyss City. Gu Zihan quickly said. Feng Wuxia? Yi Qinghan's eyes lit up. This was the best news in hell. He actually found an old friend. Feng Wuxia, I know him. Please help me find him. I will remember this favor. Yi Qinghan said excitedly. I have an appointment with him at Bloodbone Mountain next month. According to the time, I should be leaving. Please follow me. Gu Zihan nodded. He looked at the crafty Emperor Yi on Yi Qinghan's shoulder and couldn't help but tremble. He turned around and walked away. The two ghost spirits hurriedly followed after him. Yi Qinghan smiled and followed Gu Zihan with Emperor Yi. However, he did not let down his guard. After all, this was the first time he saw Gu Zihan. He didn't know if he was plotting against them. My son, you should rest first. You must be vigilant. You must be in peak condition. Yi Qinghan said in a low voice. Emperor Yi nodded and rode on Yi Qinghan's neck. He laid his head on Yi Qinghan's neck and began to rest. She didn't need to be vigilant of anything outside. With Gu Zihan leading the way, the road was unimpeded. No ghost soldiers blocked their way. Feng Wuxia, because his cultivation was too low, he was killed by Quan Can. However, his soul escaped and was sucked into the reincarnation cycle. He appeared outside a small city under the influence of Wind Abyss City. Because of his outstanding talent, he was adopted by the Wind Abyss City's city lord and taken in as his last disciple. From then on, he rose from obscurity to become one of the top 10 elites of the 9 underworld's second layer. On this day, Feng Wuxia was still in his soul form. However, his physical body was vivid and lifelike. It was as if he had flesh and blood. He was incomparably powerful. Wherever he went, all things rose without wind. The profound of wind accompanied him. Young master has come out of seclusion again. In the Wind Abyss City's city lord's mansion, the servants saw that Feng Wuxia did not restrict him. They all knew that Feng Wuxia was a peaceful person and would not use his power to oppress others. He was very kind to the ghost slaves, so they would greet him instead of running away. And, you all go do your work. Don't worry about me. Feng Wuxia nodded with a smile and walked towards the main hall. Wind Abyss City, one of the 9 great cities. The city lord was surnamed Feng, and was known as the Wind Emperor. His understanding of the profound of wind had reached the great perfection stage. He was definitely one of the overlords of the 9 underworlds. The Wind Emperor looked like a middle-aged man in his 40s. He was not angry, but he was dealing with some matters at the moment. When he saw Feng Wuxia enter, he immediately said happily, Wuxia, looks like you've improved well. Do you still want to fight with that little fellow Gu Zihan? Master. I have an appointment with him at Bloodbone Mountain next month. The time is almost up, so I'm here to ask for leave. Feng Wuxia bowed slightly and said respectfully. And don't lose the prestige of my Wind Abyss City. All these years, none of the juniors of Wind Abyss City could win against that little bastard. This time, you have to help Wind Abyss City get revenge. The next time I see Old Man Gu, I'll be able to hold my head high. The Wind Emperor laughed heartily. He was very satisfied with Feng Wuxia. I will not disappoint, master. Feng Wuxia replied with a smile. By the way, you asked me to help you look for news about some people in the Endless Plains. I found some. Their talent is not bad, so I had the ghost soldiers escort them here. When you return, if you are satisfied with them, they can stay as guards. The Wind Emperor said indifferently. Many thanks, master. Feng Wuxia's eyes lit up and he immediately said excitedly. As for the Owl War Star's undead that you're looking for, Sai, I've looked into it, but I might have to disappoint you. The battle back then was too tragic, and those people's cultivation was too weak. Most of their souls were scattered, and a portion of them fell into a sea of blood. Those who truly survived were few and far between. Feng Wuxia's fingertips moved slightly. He bowed and said, "Thank you, Master. This disciple understands. All these years, you and I have been like father and son. Ever since Feng Yang reincarnated, I only have you as my son. Saying all this makes me feel like an outsider. As long as you can stay and accompany this old man, I will be satisfied." The Wind Emperor shook his head. There was a hint of longing in his eyes. As the overlord of a region, there were also things that he wanted but couldn't get. It made him feel helpless. "Master, why didn't you choose reincarnation? With your merit, it shouldn't be difficult to enter the middle plane, right?" Feng Wuxia looked at the white hair on the Wind Emperor's temples and felt a little sad. Feng Yang was the only son of the Wind Emperor. His talent was astonishing. In addition, his merit was boundless. 800 years ago, he reincarnated and entered the middle plane. Although the Wind Emperor was happy, he also missed him. Reincarnation is not as simple as you think. Although Feng Yang reincarnated, he also cut off his relationship with me. Now that he has lost his memory, he can no longer be considered my son. Even if I reincarnate into the middle plane, I won't have any memories. I have no blood relationship with him. What can we do if we meet again? The Wind Emperor said sadly. Chapter 453. Feng Wuxia left the Wind Abyss City expressionlessly. He also brought 2 powerful ghost spirits with him to protect him. The 9 underworlds was not a peaceful place. In the depths of the Blood Sea, an existence comparable to an overlord could emerge at any time. The Bloodbone Mountain was a mountain range that was made up of eerie white bones. It was undulating and stretched for thousands of miles. It was a moving mountain range. However, the range of its movement wasn't large. It was only about 10,000 miles. The younger generation of ghost heroes would choose to fight here. Both sides were rapidly approaching. Yi Qinghan and the others arrived at the Bloodbone Mountain first. Emperor Yi woke up from his sleep and squinted at the Bloodbone Mountain. It was a stretch of eerie white bones. He did not know what kind of beast it was. Some of the bones were even 1,000 meters long, like heavenly dragons. The bones exuded an aura of death that could devour everything, making people not dare to approach. "Master, this place is so scary. Why do I feel like there is something underneath?" Emperor Yi looked at the slowly moving Bloodbone Mountain and said in horror, "This Bloodbone Mountain is moving. It floats with the Blood Sea, but it will not move for 10,000 miles before returning to its original position. It is said that it has been here since my grandfather's generation." Guzihan shook his head and explained. Yi Qinghan's divine sense went down, but when it touched the white bones, it was absorbed by the profound of reincarnation. He had no choice but to retreat. Guzihan saw that Yi Qinghan and Yi Huang were on guard, as if they were looking at country bumpkins. The corners of his mouth curled up, and he mocked. This Bloodbone Mountain has existed for who knows how many years. If there was a ferocious creature, it would have appeared a long time ago. I'm afraid that its battle prowess wouldn't be any weaker than my father's. Yi Qinghan was silent for a moment, and did not take it to heart. Nothing happened for so many years. It should not be so coincidental that something would happen at this time. The 5 of them stood there awkwardly and looked around. Other than the eerie white bone mountain, there was only the endless Blood Sea. There was still one day before the battle. Guzihan was very interested in the identities of Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi. He took the initiative and said, "You two came from the same realm as Feng Wuxia?" Yi Qinghan nodded and gestured for Emperor Yi to continue resting. Emperor Yi continued to sleep and adjust his breathing. He ignored Guzihan's flirting and made Guzihan feel awkward. This place is filled with living beings who have reached the end of their lifespans. They have gathered here to wait for reincarnation. The 2 of you clearly haven't reached the end of your lifespans, so why have you appeared in the 9 underworlds? Guzihan asked curiously. They were sucked in by the reincarnation fruit. They didn't come here on their own accord, Yi Qinghan replied calmly. Brother Gu, can you tell me more about the 18 levels of the 9 underworlds? Yi Qinghan asked. The 18 levels of the 9 underworlds are also known as the 18 levels of hell. Each level is a day. Although it is a flat surface, the deeper you go, the more terrifying it is. I have never entered the third level, but I heard from the Yin soldiers that there are many experts there. Many great emperors who have reincarnated into the 9 underworlds will descend there. Apart from those with great merits who can enter the 4th level, the others have to wait for reincarnation. However, there are some super existences who are unwilling to be left out and have formed groups to fight in the depths. After the 3rd level is the source of evil. The deeper you go, the more chaotic it is. If you don't have enough strength, you will die. That place is a paradise for violence, a holy land for experts. It is a place for overlords. Unfortunately, without absolute confidence, no one will go there to die. We have sent people to the 2nd level, but only one returned. However, he did not mention a word about the depths. He never went to the 3rd level and soon disappeared completely. Gu Zihan felt that it was a pity. He wanted to become a great emperor and enter the depths to fight. He wanted to become an overlord there and lead an area, fight for resources, break the taboo, and reincarnate with his memories. Yi Qinghan frowned. The 3rd and 4th levels were where the great emperors fought. Could they really get out of the 18th level? That is why I said that there is no hope for you to get out of the 9 underworlds, unless... Gu Zihan shook his head and stopped talking. Unless what? Yi Qinghan asked quickly. That is almost impossible. Unless you can win first place in the divine position, titled battle, gain the approval of the master of the 9 underworlds, and become his last disciple. You must have all 3. Only then will you have the chance to reincarnate with your memories. Gu Zihan smiled bitterly and said in a hoarse voice, this kind of opportunity is hard to come by. As far as I know, there are no more than 3 people who have reincarnated with their memories. Now they are all overlords of the middle planes and the master gods. They are respected by all living beings and draw the faith of countless living beings. They can almost live forever. Gu Zihan smiled bitterly. Divine position titled battle? When will it be held? Yi Qinghan frowned. Although he did not want to reincarnate, he might be able to leave the 9 underworlds and return to the mortal world through the master of the 9 underworlds. Gu Zihan smiled and said, this is not a competition. It is a test for the titled battle pet warriors. You have to pass 18 levels. Once you pass the 18th level, you will be summoned by the master of the 9 underworlds. After passing the 9th level, you will be given a title. However, it is not that easy. Many super strong people who claim to be invincible in their own level have fallen in the first 9 levels. Where do I go to take the test? Yi Qinghan asked. Actually, you have already started the test. However, you did not sign up on the 1st level. You should have signed up on the 2nd level. You can sign up in any big city. After you sign up, you will be given a separate route. On this route, no one will disturb you. You just have to focus on the test. You will be given a title if you reach the 9th level. Gu Zihan replied. Yi Qinghan nodded. This was the fastest way to get out of the 9 underworlds. Otherwise, the outside world would have been turned upside down by the time he rushed out of the 9 underworlds. The two chatted for an entire day. Yi Qinghan found out everything that Gu Zihan knew. The next day, Wuxia came from afar. When he saw the scene between Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi, he was stunned. Brother Yi, you guys. Why are you guys here? Wuxia was shocked. He found it hard to believe that Yi Qinghan was dead. Brother Feng, long time no see. I came here by accident. I heard about you from Brother Gu and followed you here. How have you been? Yi Qinghan said happily when he saw that Wuxia was in high spirits. His battle strength was actually close to the great emperor realm. Not bad. Not bad. Wait for me to take care of Gu Zihan, then I'll bring you back to Wind Abyss City. I have some news to tell you. Wuxia said excitedly. Gu Zihan snorted and said disdainfully, Wuxia, you're so narcissistic that you're perverted. You called yourself the Wind God before even taking the test. Aren't you afraid that people will laugh their heads off? Now you dare to say that you'll take care of me? In the past 1,000 years of Wind Abyss City, who has beaten me? I can take care of you. Wuxia looked at Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi and said excitedly, Brother Yi, Emperor Yi, you guys step aside first. I've been waiting for this battle for a long time. Yi Qinghan nodded and stepped back. Brat, I've tolerated you for a long time. Gu Zihan was furious. He vented all the anger he had suffered at Emperor Ye's hands. He formed a seal with his palms, and the purification technique was used again. Divine light covered the sky and covered the earth. Cold light and sword chi surrounded the golden body. Me too. Feng Wuxia snorted and pointed his fingers at the sky. Woo woo woo, a cold wind appeared on the second level. Feng Wuxia returned to the wind, invisible and traceless. The blood waves within 100 miles soared into the sky. The profound meaning of the wind was like a blade that cut through the void. Xiao xiao xiao. Countless wind blades appeared out of nowhere, shattering the specks of divine light. The wind swirled into a whirlpool with Gu Zihan as the center. The blood veil wrapped around him tightly. There was no more divinity for him to use. The purification technique was strangled in the cradle. Wah! Gu Zihan took the initiative to attack. He shattered the blood veil with one strike, but the blood veil repaired itself. Even the blood veil had a terrifying tearing force. It kept twisting and turning, preventing Gu Zihan from rushing out of the whirlpool. The dignified ghost spirit divine body was useless. Gu Zihan was furious. The ghost spirit divine body was a godlike body in the 9 underworlds. But in the past few days, he had been suppressed by 2 people in a row. A sword broke through mountains and rivers, stirring up the blood veil whirlpool. The blood sea surged, and the chains on the seabed could be seen clearly. Xiao xiao xiao. Feng Wuxia turned invisible and passed through the blood veil. Before Gu Zihan could attack out of the blood veil, he was pierced by wind blades. He fell back and smashed out of the whirlpool. He was injured by the whirlpool and coughed out blood. Puff! Gu Zihan had just fallen into the blood sea when he was grabbed by 2 bony claws from the seabed. He was violently dragged to the bottom of the sea. Then more and more wraiths pounced on him. Young master, be careful. The 2 wraiths were shocked. They wanted to grab Gu Zihan. But they were also dragged to the bottom of the sea by the wraiths. Rise! Yi Qinghan slashed out with his saber, cutting off a large part of the sea and lifting it into the air. Hundreds of wraiths were exposed and were instantly killed by the order laws. Cough cough. Gu Zihan was shocked. He had escaped death and looked at Yi Qinghan with gratitude. Many young masters have helped. The 2 wraiths quickly thanked him. It's fine. Consider it a reward for the information you provided me. Yi Qinghan said calmly. I'm sorry. I thought you were strong, so I attacked a bit too hard. Feng Wuxia grinned. Gu Zihan's mouth twitched. He clenched his fists and looked at Feng Wuxia coldly. Bastard, don't think that you're so great just because you've cultivated the profound of wind to the large success stage. Revenge is a dish best served cold. Just you wait, we'll fight again in 10 years. After losing 2 people in a row, Gu Zihan angrily flicked his sleeves and left. Yi Qinghan smiled. This Gu Zihan was indeed very unlucky. He had encountered 2 people who countered his divine body. It was natural for him to be angry. However, he had to admit that his divine body was the natural enemy of evil beings. He would definitely have a bright future in the 9 underworlds. Brother Yi, follow me back to Deep Wind City. I've found some people from back then, and some of the wraiths of Owl War Star. However, most of them have already disappeared. Feng Wuxia looked at Yi Qinghan and said. It was unknown whether he was happy or sad. Yi Qinghan nodded. It was good that he had found some people. He hoped that he could let them enter the cycle of reincarnation and return to Owl War Star. Even if they had no memories, it would still be a form of sustenance. The 5 of them were as fast as lightning, rushing towards the Wind Abyss City. It took them a month to arrive, but it only took them half a month to return. A towering city towered in front of them, exuding a majestic aura. There wasn't even the slightest breeze in the surrounding 1,000 miles. The sea was deathly still, without any waves. From this, one could see that the Wind Abyss City's control over the wind had already reached the pinnacle. Chapter 454. Wind Abyss City was vast and boundless. It was no different from the cities in the mortal world, but it was much larger. It was the size of a region and could hold billions of ghosts. Soldiers patrolled the city, and no ghosts dared to cause trouble in the city. Those who did would be thrown into the blood sea and devoured by countless vengeful spirits. Feng Wuxia led Yi Qinghan and Yi Qinghan into Wind Abyss City, attracting the greetings of many Yin soldiers. Even the ghost spirits were respectful towards Feng Wuxia. They respected this young lord from the bottom of their hearts. He was 10,000 times better than the young lords of other cities. At the very least, he would not bully the ghost spirits for fun, nor would he steal beautiful female ghosts. This city was the city with the most dual cultivators. It was also the city with the most female ghosts. No matter if it was day or night, they could go out without fear of being robbed. Feng Wuxia nodded along the way. They passed through half of the city and led Yi Qinghan and Ren Huangyi into the Wind Emperor's residence. There were all sorts of flowers and plants inside, and the spiritual qi was overwhelming. However, most of the flowers and plants were red in color, and only a few of them were of other colors. The spiritual herbs and spiritual flowers of other colors were very precious and could not be destroyed. What a beautiful residence! Emperor Yi was like a child, lying on Yi Qinghan's head and looking around. He liked the scenery very much. If you like it, then stay for a few more days. Master is very easy to talk to. Don't be shy later. Feng Wuxia said happily. Yi Qinghan shook his head. His body was still in the outside world, and it was best to go back as soon as possible. He said, Wuxia, help me tell the city lord that I want to participate in the title test. Ah, that's a test for the great emperors. Don't tell me you want to go back? Feng Wuxia asked in shock. Yi Qinghan nodded without hesitation. He had so many things to do in the outside world, so how could he stay here? This was not his battlefield, at least not in the short term. When he reached the peak of reincarnation realm, he could enter the 9 underworlds more often. It's very dangerous. Are you sure you don't want to confirm your Dao first before taking the test? Feng Wuxia kindly reminded. There's not enough time. I need to get back as soon as possible. As for the title, as long as the great emperor can do it, Emperor Yi and I can do it together. It's very dangerous, but it's not a 100% chance of death. Yi Qinghan was very conceited and confident. If the predecessors could do it, then he could do it too. Feng Wuxia was helpless. He was already used to Yi Qinghan's stubbornness. Once he had decided on something, no one could change his mind. He could only bring him to the main hall. The Wind Emperor was currently reviewing some things. He looked up at Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi from the corner of his eyes. He could not help but be surprised. He could clearly see that Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi were not ordinary people. These two are. The Wind Emperor looked at Yi Qinghan curiously and asked, Master, these two are my close friends from the mortal world, Yi Qinghan. The one on his shoulder is Emperor Yi. Feng Wuxia quickly introduced. Yi Qinghan put down Emperor Yi and bowed. Junior Yi Qinghan greets Senior. Greetings, Senior, Ren Huangyi, said Ren Huangyi with a bow. No need to be so courteous. Sit down. The Wind Emperor was very kind. He smiled slightly, making people feel very comfortable. Then he happily asked, Did you fight Guzihan? Your son won. Feng Wuxia calmly replied. He did not take this matter to heart. Haha, good. It's good that you won. The Wind Emperor laughed and waved his hand. Men bring out good wine and dishes. There might be many dishes in the 9 underworlds, but spirit wine was very rare. Because the water was not good, there were even fewer spirit fruits that could be used to brew wine. Ordinary people could not even drink wine. For an overlord like the Wind Emperor, he would not drink unless there was a joyous occasion. Master, my friend is here to ask for a favor. Feng Wuxia looked at Yi Qinghan's eyes and quickly said, What is it? Just say it. If I can help, I will not frown. The Wind Emperor was in a good mood and said straightforwardly, Senior, I want to participate in the battle for the title of God position. I need to register in the city. I hope Senior will agree. Yi Qinghan stood up and cupped his fists. The Wind Emperor's pupils shrank. The second level of the battle for the title of God position had not been challenged for 500 years. Although there were people who challenged it in the past 1,000 years, they all failed and died miserably on the way. Now, even if Feng Wuxia wanted to challenge it, he would not allow it. Battle for the title of God position? Although the two of you are dragons and phoenixes among men, your cultivation is too weak. I advise you to cultivate quietly for a few years. The Wind Emperor thought for a moment and reminded. I have made up my mind. I hope Senior will agree. Yi Qinghan bowed and said. The Wind Emperor looked at Feng Wuxia and saw him nodding seriously. He said, all right, since you have made up your mind, I will not force you. There is one more thing. I don't know how to say it. Yi Qinghan was a little troubled. Asking the city lord to bend the law and reincarnate all the people who survived on Al Warstar was clearly rude. If you have something to say, just say it. Perhaps the Wind Emperor doted on Feng Wuxia too much and did not think much of it. I am the only survivor of Al Warstar in the Endless Plains. I wonder if Senior can reincarnate those who died in vain back then and return to Al Warstar? Yi Qinghan said sadly. I see. Reincarnating into a small plane is not a difficult matter. In addition, they have some merit on them, so it is even easier. Do you want to meet them before reincarnating? The Wind Emperor asked. Yi Qinghan lowered his head and clenched his fists. He took a deep breath and shook his head. He said, if I don't meet them, it will only increase my sadness. I don't have the face to meet them. The Wind Emperor had some understanding of Al Warstar's matter and did not say much. To Yi Qinghan, meeting those people was more painful than having his heart and lungs torn apart. When are you going to participate in the examination? The registration is very simple. I just need to raise the brush. The Wind Emperor asked. Many thanks, Senior. I hope that it will be as soon as possible. Yi Qinghan said without hesitation. The Wind Emperor nodded and looked carefully at Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi. He discovered that the golden light above their heads was very dense with merit. He reminded, if you make good use of the power of faith in your sea of consciousness, it will not be difficult to get a title. Remember, the power of faith is gathered from the power of faith of countless living beings. It has many uses. Many thanks for Senior's reminder. This junior understands. Yi Qinghan replied in a low voice. The power of faith in his sea of consciousness was continuously transmitted from the endless plains, providing him with strength. This would be his strongest backing for participating in the examination. In the Dao Heart realm, everyone was worried sick. Yi Qinghan had been in the cycle of reincarnation for a long time. His and Emperor Ye's bodies were here, so no one dared to leave. Can you think of a way to save them? Xia Ziluo asked in a low voice. She was still counting on Yi Qinghan to help Xia Qiyue snatch the heavenly dragon's sacred blood. Everyone looked at the Ghost Emperor. In terms of understanding of reincarnation, he was the clearest. After all, he specialized in the path of reincarnation. The Ghost Emperor finally had a place to use his skills. He immediately raised his head and pretended to be arrogant. Pa! Shinnong Qingyan unceremoniously kicked him and asked with a frown. If you have any ideas, tell me. Do you expect me to beg you? The Ghost Emperor staggered and almost fell. He immediately smiled bitterly. This wild girl never gave him any face, and it was in front of so many people. However, he did not dare to be calculative. After all, his life was in her hands. He could only helplessly say, we have no way to help them inside. We can only help them from the outside. How? Everyone immediately asked in unison. The power of faith will be of great help to him, especially now. Although I have a grudge against Yi Qinghan, I have to say that he has great merit for the Endless Plains, and is respected by the people of the Endless Plains. However, respect and faith are two different things. Faith needs to be guided by you to lead the people to believe in Yi Qinghan. Set up a longevity position at home and pray sincerely every day. The power of faith will be transmitted to Yi Qinghan's sea of consciousness through the longevity position, and form the power of faith. At critical times, the power of faith will help his defense, making his cultivation twice the result with half the effort. It can also help him quickly recover his battle strength when he is tired. The Ghost Emperor said with a shrug. We Ghost Emperors follow the same path. If I had been able to prove my Tao back then, I would have been able to turn all the living beings in the Endless Plains into my people. I would have been able to make them believe in me, and I would have been protected by their faith. Although I wouldn't have been able to live forever, I would have been able to live longer and stronger than other great emperors. The Ghost Emperor lamented. His opportunity to become a great emperor had been completely destroyed by Yi Qinghan. Everyone's eyes flashed. If they wanted to lead the people to believe in Yi Qinghan, it was very simple. They just had to inform the various rulers of the Endless Dynasty. Everyone was restless and wanted to leave the Dao Heart world. Now that Yi Qinghan is like this, how can we block the power of reincarnation and transfer them to the Emperor region? With him here, our movements will be restricted and we can't train at all, Xia Ziluo asked with a frown. The Ghost Emperor curled his lips and said hoarsely, "Isn't the Yellow Springs Hell map in your hands? Use it to wrap Yi Qinghan and the reincarnation fruit, and bring them out of the Dao Heart world. The prerequisite is that Yi Qinghan doesn't resist. If he resists now, we won't be able to hold him down even if we attack together. Let me do it. Big brother shouldn't attack me. Big sister Xia, let's work together and send big brother out." At this moment, Yi Mengxi also rushed over from the outside world. She was as beautiful as a flower and as beautiful as jade. In terms of looks, she didn't lose to Xia Ziluo or Shenong Qingyan. Xia Ziluo nodded. She was in a hurry to send Yi Qinghan away so that they could go to the depths of the Dao Heart world to fight for the supreme treasure. The heavenly dragon's sacred blood must not fall into the hands of outsiders. The two women opened the Yellow Springs Hell map and approached the mountain peak step by step. Yi Mengxi released her life aura, hoping that Yi Qinghan's battle physique wouldn't resist. As expected, when Yi Mengxi's aura came into contact with Yi Qinghan's soul in the 9 underworlds felt it. He didn't overreact and allowed them to suck away his physical body. The reincarnation fruit was also sucked into the hell map. Jian Qinxue brought Emperor Ye's body and followed the two out of the Dao Heart world. Other than Lu Outyin, who followed them back to guide the living beings in the endless plains to believe in Yi Qinghan, the others all rushed towards the depths. The people of the Kuang sect gathered and brought Uncle Wen and Xia Qiyue into the depths. It was a sea of blood in the depths. The experts fought until the heavens fell and the earth cracked. When a rare treasure appeared, it would take away several top-notch lives. There were fewer and fewer people in the Dao Heart world, but the remaining people were getting stronger and stronger. They were infinitely close to the Great Emperor realm. Many people could trigger the Great Emperor tribulation at any time once they left the Dao Heart world. If they couldn't, they would vanish into thin air. No one could escape their fate. Chapter 455. The titled battle was a path to desolation. The mission was to defeat the true number 1 expert of the younger generation in the second 9 cities. In theory, once the titled battle started, the 9 underworlds and the 18 levels of hell would be notified. However, before reaching the 9th level, the mission could not be stopped unless one was completely dead. At the same time, the 9 underworlds and the 18 levels of Hell's intelligence system released a message saying that 2 quasi-emperors had teamed up to fight for the titled battle. This caused a commotion in the circle of great emperors. The titled battle was the authority of great emperors. Since when was it up to quasi-emperors? It wasn't that there weren't quasi-emperors fighting for the titled battle, but those who dared to start it were all extremely strong. Although no one had succeeded before, they were all exploding like fireworks, shaking the entire 9 underworlds. After the start of this year's titled battle, a pair of terrifying eyes opened in the deepest part of the 9 underworlds. They pierced through the universe and traversed countless miles. They stared at Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi for a moment before slowly closing without alerting anyone. The Wind Emperor told Yi Qinghan the mission route, starting from Wind Abyss City. After defeating the strongest expert of the younger generation in the 9 cities, he would be automatically sent to the 3rd level. There would be a guide on the 3rd level to provide the mission and route again. Outside Wind Abyss City, Feng Wuxia bowed slightly and chose to admit defeat. He knew Yi Qinghan's combat strength better than anyone else. There was no need for him to fight. Even if he did, it would just be a waste of Yi Qinghan's strength. "Brother Yi, I have nothing to help you with. Take care," Feng Wuxia said. Yi Qinghan nodded and stepped toward Divine Spectre City. The Battle of Divine Spectre City didn't require any effort. It was just a process. Gu Zihan had already lost twice. He didn't want to fight with Yi Qinghan. He knew that he was a freak and would lose anyway. From Divine Spectre City to Hanlin City, the number 1 expert of the younger generation in Hanlin City was Yu Qinyi. She was young and beautiful. Looking at Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi, she smiled and said, "You are the first in 10,000 years to dare to start a titled battle on the second level. You are the only quasi-emperors. I admire you, but I won't give up. Make your move." Ding. Yi Qinghan clenched his fists, his aura surging to the heavens. His fighting spirit covered the heavens and earth. Although his aura hadn't reached its peak, it was enough to send Yu Chenin flying. He didn't even need to attack. Yu Chenmon's face was filled with shock. He had never seen such a domineering man. He glanced at him, and he actually didn't have the courage to resist. "I lost." Yu Cheni cupped his fists and said. On the second level, many people were unwilling to waste Yi Qinghan's combat strength. Since they knew that they would lose, they might as well help Yi Qinghan. If Yi Qinghan obtained a title, they would also gain face on the second level of 9 underworlds. Their intelligence network was operating at full capacity as they broadcasted Yi Qinghan's journey to battle. Very few people paid attention to the early stages. After all, the so-called experts of the second level were not paid any attention to after the third level. Only the overlords of a region were worth watching. When Yi Qinghan effortlessly flattened the 8 cities, it attracted the attention of many experts, who began to pay attention to the information. The 9th city, Central City. Kuang Tian was known as the strongest expert on the second level. His combat strength was comparable to a great emperor. At this moment, Kuang Tian was standing outside the Central City. Countless Yin soldiers stood on the city walls and cheered for him. Their voices were mighty and powerful, causing the blood river to collapse. "I won't lose on the second level. You guys can attack together." Kuang Tian looked down at Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi. Emperor Yi automatically left Yi Qinghan's shoulder and stood proudly in the air. He didn't look like he was going to attack. Yi Qinghan held his battle blade tightly. The 5 elements were restless, causing his aura to reach its peak. 5 elements combine heavy madness splitting sky. Yi Qinghan didn't plan to hold back at all. 5 dragons coiled around his body. He raised his blade and slashed at Kuang Tian. The 5 dragons poured out from the heavy madness blade and gathered into a 10,000 miles long heavenly dragon that charged at Kuang Tian. Boom. The chains above Sky City broke. Even hell couldn't restrain Yi Qinghan's explosive power. Kill. Yi Qinghan twisted his waist and instantly doubled his strength. Saber light tore through the sky, and Mad Heaven's pupils shrank. It was already too late for him to struggle. He had only just put up a defense when the saber split his body apart and sent him crashing into Central City. Boom. Kuang Tian's body smashed into the city wall. The Yin soldiers were sent flying by the terrifying aura and smashed into the center of the city. Whoosh! Waves of blood fell from the sky and hit the unconscious Kuang Tian's face. The world fell silent. The headquarters of the intelligence system released a message. Activate the Eye of 9 Serenities to broadcast Yi Qinghan's battle. The Eye of 9 Serenities was usually not activated unless there was a major event in the 9 Serenities. It was extremely costly. It could record Yi Qinghan's battles all the time. It was equivalent to letting all the experts in the 9 Serenities watch Yi Qinghan's battles with their own eyes. There was no time difference and no space imprisonment. Isn't it too arbitrary to activate the Eye of 9 Serenities based on his performance on the second level? If he dies on the third level, won't our losses be great? The headquarters of the intelligence system started a heated discussion. It wasn't me who requested to activate it. It was the 3 overlords of the 17th level who requested to activate it. They will bear all the losses, an old man said in a low voice. The intelligence system fell silent and stopped arguing. At the summit of the 9 Serenities, a pair of heavenly eyes opened. It could survey all 18 regions of the 9 Serenities at the same time. No one could escape from its inspection. At this moment, the eyes were staring at Yi Qinghan. They transferred Yi Qinghan and Emperor Ye's figures to the 18th level of the intelligence system. Countless experts poured into the intelligence system and began to watch Yi Qinghan's battle. A little girl tapped on the shoulder of a strong man and disappeared from the second level. She appeared on the third level. This was the place where the great emperors were fighting. It was also the most chaotic place in the 9 Serenities. All the great halls of the intelligence system were being broadcasted live. Anyone who wanted to enter the Great Hall would have to pay a large number of treasures to watch. An old man appeared in front of Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi. He looked down at them and said in a hoarse voice, "There are 4 most powerful evil spirit overlords on the 3rd level. They are Lin Xian, Emo Chun, Bloodthirsty, and Serene Ocean. Kill them and you will pass the 3rd level." "How do we find them?" Yi Qinghan's eyes lit up. This was the real titled battle. Defeat all the great emperors and be invincible in the great emperor realm. From the 3rd level onwards, there was no room for compromise. Failure meant death. Victory meant advancement. Once the 4 evil spirit overlords killed Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi, they would be able to erase their evil and return to being normal spirits. They would have the qualifications to seek the next level of the 9 serenities. Such a temptation would make them kill their opponents by hook or by crook. The closest one to you is the bloodthirsty Great Emperor. Travel 30,000 miles from here, and you will reach Blood Border City. There are no other great emperors there. There are only seas of blood and evil spirits. No one will disturb you. Once you kill him, I will guide you to the next city. If you die, my mission will be completed, the old man said indifferently. Yi Qinghan led Emperor Yi and sped along. 30,000 miles wasn't far. In this endless blood prison, it was like a short distance. In the bloody border city, a ferocious scarlet-red man revealed a mournful smile and laughed loudly. Kakik, 2 quasi-emperors who don't know the difference between life and death actually dare to challenge me. Are you really here to deliver merit to me? I will thank you. Boom. The bloodthirsty great emperor swallowed thousands of evil spirits and seas of blood in one gulp. His aura was so terrifying that it could scare people to death. At this moment, standing in his territory, even the evil spirits didn't dare to approach. Yi Qinghan put down Emperor Yi as they approached Blood Border City. At this time they had to work together. He had to maintain his peak strength and deal with any danger. Emperor Yi watched as Yi Qinghan's figure gradually disappeared into Blood Border City's territory. His face was expressionless. The 2 sides were getting closer and closer. Yi Qinghan and the bloodthirsty Great Emperor looked at each other from afar. Sparks flew as their killing intent soared. Kakik, brat, why are you alone? Didn't you say there were 2 quasi-emperors? The bloodthirsty Great Emperor licked his lips. His voice was extremely ear-piercing. One of them is enough to kill you. Yi Qinghan's aura surged and continued to rise. He wanted to reverse the yin and yang in the sky and break the confinement of the heavens. You really don't know life from death. I will fulfill your wish. After killing you, this old man will be able to erase my sins and attain immortality. The bloodthirsty Great Emperor clawed at Yi Qinghan. Space was torn apart in an instant. Huge waves of 10,000 feet high swept up and enveloped Yi Qinghan. Fight! Yi Qinghan roared furiously. His battle intent reached its peak. He split the sea of blood with his saber. Countless saber lights shattered the waves of blood. His natal weapon slashed directly at the bloodthirsty Great Emperor. Swoosh! 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 Yi Qinghan's movements were impossible to track. His silhouettes were everywhere. Even the Eye of 9 Serenities had to speed up to capture Yi Qinghan's movements. Tyrannical. Arrogant. Sealed. Rebellious. Fight. Sage. Swoosh. Swoosh. The bloodthirsty Great Emperor sneered disdainfully. His iron fist broke through the saber lights and went straight for Yi Qinghan's body. Boom. The heavy berserk saber struck the bloodthirsty Heavenly Emperor's iron fist. The saber whistled and shook violently, almost shattering. However, the bloodthirsty Heavenly Emperor's iron fist was cut open. Ah! The bloodthirsty Great Emperor screamed in agony. His wound had infuriated this ferocious demon. With a swipe of his hand, a blood-red light enveloped his right fist, healing the wound on its own. Ordinary wounds couldn't harm him. Otherwise, the bloodthirsty Heavenly Emperor would have died a long time ago. Yi Qinghan coldly looked at the bloodthirsty Great Emperor. He began to mobilize the 5 elements in his body. The thunder origin gathered on his heavy berserk saber. He raised his saber and slashed down again. His soul circulated to the limit, and he moved as fast as lightning. Whoosh! Lightning streaked across the sky, illuminating the bloody border city. The bloodthirsty Great Emperor roared ferociously. His entire body emitted a blood-red hue. The sea surged and endless energy was forcibly extracted by him to increase his fighting strength. Creation of heaven and earth. Boom. A punch that could shatter mountains and rivers flew toward Yi Qinghan fiercely. Yi Qinghan roared in anger. He pushed his fighting strength to the limit. His aura was terrifying. His saber was indestructible. It carried the 5 elements and the aura of destruction as it slashed down on the iron fist. Whoosh! The thunder origin followed the 5 elements and blasted into the bloodthirsty Great Emperor's body. It stirred crazily and devoured the bloodthirsty Great Emperor's vitality. Ah! The bloodthirsty Great Emperor screamed in horror. He realized that Yi Qinghan's attack wasn't just limited to the 5 elements. There was also the Great Tao of Lightning, the Great Tao of Destruction, and the Great Tao of Reincarnation. The bloodthirsty Great Emperor's vitality and energy were quickly suppressed. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't shake off the thunder origin. Chapter 456. The Blood Border City was drowned by the sea of blood. Even a drop of blood could break through the shackles. The chains that were broken quickly recovered, and the laws within a million miles were out of control. Yi Qinghan was a boundary emperor. He didn't use any emperor weapons. He relied only on his own strength to force the bloodthirsty heavenly emperor to retreat. The bloodthirsty heavenly emperor was one of the 4 great evil heavenly emperors in the 3rd layer. He was definitely one of the strongest heavenly emperors. Otherwise, he would have been killed by the other heavenly emperors. Boom. Whoosh. 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 After a thunderous roar, tens of thousands of purple lightning bolts were dyed red. They shot toward the bloodthirsty heavenly emperor from all directions. Yi Qinghan fought bravely. The bloodthirsty heavenly emperor realized that Yi Qinghan's battle prowess was already heaven-defying. He used all kinds of secret techniques. They had been fighting for an hour, but not a single one of them was repeated. The bloodthirsty heavenly emperor shuttled through the lightning bolts, trying to escape. However, Yi Qinghan had to complete his mission. He had to kill him. How could he let him escape? 9 rotation heavenly dragon style. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan transformed into a 10,000 zhang long heavenly dragon. He appeared in the sky and crazily rushed toward the sea of blood. The bloodthirsty heavenly emperor was in the middle of the whirlpool. The dragon swallowed the water, and huge waves rolled toward the sky. The azure dragon spiraled faster and faster. The tearing force tore the chains apart. Countless resentful spirits screamed and struggled, but they were torn to pieces by the whirlpool. They died on the spot. The bloodthirsty heavenly emperor tried his best to break free, but the whirlpool was like a heavenly barrier. He couldn't break through it. In the end, he could only rush toward the top of the whirlpool, trying to fight his way out. Yi Qinghan looked down at the bloodthirsty heavenly emperor, who was rushing toward him. The corners of his mouth curled up, and his dragon head reached down. Roar! With a furious roar, the heavens collapsed and the earth cracked. The whirlpool exploded, and the recoil blasted the bloodthirsty heavenly emperor's soul. His body was torn to pieces, but he still resisted with all his might. Boom! 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 The chains at the bottom of the sea broke. The bloodthirsty heavenly emperor couldn't block this attack. He was smashed into the depths of the sea of blood. Ah! As soon as the bloodthirsty great emperor entered the depths of the blood sea, the iron chains immediately sealed him. The bloodthirsty great emperor's soul was surrounded by countless resentful spirits. The resentful spirits kept biting and tearing his soul apart. Eventually, the resentful spirits tore his soul into pieces and devoured him. His mournful screams resounded through the universe. The Eye of the Ninth Underworld transmitted the scene to the intelligence system of the 18th level of Hell. Everyone was shocked. It was not a big deal for a boundary emperor to kill a great emperor. Such a monstrous talent would appear every 300 to 500 years. However, to kill a great emperor like the bloodthirsty great emperor was harder than ascending to the heavens. After all, the bloodthirsty great emperor could escape. But with Yi Qinghan, escaping was a luxury. After the battle ended, Emperor Yi and that old man appeared. Congratulations on killing an evil spirit overlord. There are 3 more to go. The one closest to this place is the Demon Dusk Great Emperor. His cultivation is stronger than the bloodthirsty Great Emperor. You have 2 hours to rest. After 2 hours, I will bring you to him. The old man was calm and didn't seem surprised at all. Yi Qinghan nodded. He sat cross-legged beside Emperor Yi and mobilized the power of faith to heal his injuries and soul. At this moment, he realized that the power of faith in his sea of consciousness was increasing exponentially. It was inexhaustible. A golden ocean formed in the depths of his sea of consciousness. Strands of power of faith were praying. At this moment he could even sense the endless plains. Although it was very vague, it was indeed the prayers of people from the endless plains. Yi Qinghan was shocked. He thought to himself, when I can clearly sense the endless plains, won't I be able to go back directly? Whoosh! Yi Qinghan's body shone with golden light. The might of virtue was vast and mighty. It was incomparably majestic. The evil spirits under the sea didn't dare to approach. The old man squinted his eyes and looked at Yi Qinghan. He frowned. He had never seen a boundary emperor with so much power of faith and such dense virtue. He thought to himself, why is this kid here? With his virtue, he seems to be able to ascend to godhood in a small plane. God priests were all created by plundering the faith of the people. They themselves had great power and could forcefully plunder faith. They could also sincerely help the people and obtain the power of faith. With the power of faith, they could cultivate true divine abilities. They could fly and burrow into the ground. They could evolve their true essence into divine power. Their power and vitality were far from what a great emperor could compare to. If Yi Qinghan could control the endless plains for a long time, he could definitely become a god priest. He was young and had enough time to obtain the power of faith. Moreover, the majority of the people in the endless plains were willing to worship him. He had the qualifications to become a god priest. 2 hours later, Yi Qinghan exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. His soul had recovered by 90%. His battle strength wasn't affected much. Emperor Yi said seriously, Master, leave the next battle to me. Yi Qinghan shook his head. He could only be invincible and couldn't control an area. However, Emperor Yi could. Emperor Yi's battle strength had to be at peak state at any time. Only then could he survive in the 9 underworlds. No need. You can rest at ease. There are many places where you will be needed in the upcoming battle. Yi Qinghan said hoarsely. Let's go. This time, the old man didn't point out the location. Instead, he took the initiative to lead Yi Qinghan and Yi Qinghan into the depths. After walking for a long time and taking many turns, they finally arrived at a place similar to the Blood-Bone Mountain. It was filled with endless blood and bones. The pungent smell was nauseating. As soon as they entered this place, Yi Qinghan's pores opened up. A terrifying aura of death enveloped him, making him extremely vigilant. He's inside the mountain range. Let's go in. I advise the two of you to work together. Otherwise, neither of you will be able to come out after entering, the old man reminded them indifferently. Emperor Yi looked at Yi Qinghan, but found that he was still shaking his head. This time, Yi Qinghan flipped his big hand. The reincarnation mirror appeared in his hand, and a battle spear was grasped in his palm. He resolutely stepped into the mountain range. Emo Chun was a cold middle-aged man. His eyes flickered with a black light. The dark element was extremely rich. He was like a demon god. His clothes fluttered in the wind. He stood behind a tall mountain, and held a 3-feet-long demonic blade in his hand. The cold light it emitted could almost cut through bones. It was incomparably tyrannical. Kacha! Yi Qinghan stepped on the decaying bones and walked into the depths. He found that his divine sense was completely useless here. When it came into contact with the bones, it was bounced back. An hour later, the two of them were 100 meters away from each other. Emo Chun licked his lips and stared at Yi Qinghan with his charming eyes. He whispered, I didn't expect you to be an ant. Is that so? Yi Qinghan faintly looked at Emo Chun. He found that he was indeed very powerful. There was no need to waste energy on him. He could just directly kill him. He used his soul to activate the reincarnation mirror, and enveloped Emo Chun without warning. No, Emo Chun was horrified. He raised his blade to block in front of him. Just as he wanted to escape, he was directly swept by the light of reincarnation. His physical body was instantly obliterated, and his soul didn't escape either. However, the demonic blade in his hand wasn't destroyed. It was still hovering in the void, frantically struggling. Yi Qinghan put away the reincarnation mirror, and reached out to grab the demonic blade. A peak grade 8 flame source enveloped the demonic blade. He felt the cold aura from the demonic blade rushing towards the depths of his soul in an attempt to devour him. He couldn't help but angrily shout, "Die or submit." The demonic blade had a spirit. It felt Yi Qinghan's killing intent and knew that if he wanted to destroy it, all he had to do was use a bit more of his soul and activate the reincarnation mirror. It didn't dare to struggle anymore. Because Yi Qinghan had killed Mo Chen, it caused a huge uproar on the 18th level of the 9 underworld. The big shots and overlords all placed bets on how far Yi Qinghan could go. I didn't expect the chaos treasure, the reincarnation mirror, to be in his hands. On the 9th level, the Azura overlord said hoarsely, "It's a pity that his cultivation is too weak. It's hard for him to use even a fraction of his strength. Otherwise, how could that demonic blade resist?" Vast Universe Overlord said indifferently, "Do you think he can get a title?" Another overlord joined in the discussion. With the reincarnation mirror, it shouldn't be a problem for him to enter the 9th level. However, this emperor is thinking that the little girl beside him doesn't even need to do anything. Could it be that she should be given a title as well? A title isn't that easy to be given. The strongest person on the 9th level, Feather Emperor, frowned. "Can anyone find out about the little girl's background? I'm quite interested in them. If they can kill their way here and successfully get a title, this old man will consider taking them in as a disciple." A powerful overlord said indifferently, "I've heard of Yi Qinghan's secret technique. As for that little girl, she hasn't made a move yet, so I can't judge her directly. However, the zither in her hand seems to be familiar. Her combat strength shouldn't be too bad, right?" Feather Emperor rubbed his head in frustration. He hoped that Emperor Ye's combat strength was worthy of a title. Otherwise, he really didn't know how to give the Emperor Yi a title. If the title turned out to be trash, wouldn't he become a laughing stock? She wants to test their combat strength and add fuel to the fire. If Yi Qinghan can't resist alone, she will naturally make a move. I'm just afraid that if she doesn't have combat strength, Yi Qinghan will fail. Won't the intelligence system vent their anger on us? Azura Overlord grinned. Forget it. Since the Eye of 9 Serenities has been opened, let's not add to the chaos. If something really happens, we won't be able to explain ourselves. Feather Emperor said helplessly. It had already been a year since Yi Qinghan entered the cycle of reincarnation. Many experts thought that he was dead. All the heroes gathered together and began the Tao-proving battle. The slaughter reached its climax. Every day, a supreme existence would be born, but every day, 2 supreme experts would die. People like Zeiken and Gu Qingyu could be killed at any time. This wasn't an era of absolute solo soldiers. There were too many experts and they could be killed at any time. People who moved alone usually didn't dare to fight with experts of the same level. Once they were seriously injured, they definitely couldn't escape. However, in terms of solo soldiers, there weren't many who had the Tao-proving battle strength. That terrifying mutated beast would kill whenever he attacked. No one knew how many experts he had killed. It was shocking. He had been surrounded by experts before, but he had easily escaped. Wuxia represented the Kuang sect. He suddenly emerged and unleashed the true strength of the golden bloodline. Di Longtian displayed strength that surpassed Di Shang. He was almost invincible. Jian Chenxue gave up on the Tao-proving battle and peacefully guarded the Kuang sect, protecting Yi Qinghan and Emperor Ye's bodies. Only then could the Kuang sect go to the Tao Heart Realm to fight and open the path to Tao-proving battle. Xia Ziluo entered the Tao Heart Realm again and sped away in search of the heavenly dragon's sacred blood. She didn't fight with others and only flashed away. She only wanted to help Xia Qiyue obtain the treasure and activate the sacred blood gene. 2 months passed in a flash. The genes in her body were also affected. They pulsed faster and faster, almost exploding. Are we about to find it? Xia Ziluo's eyes flickered. She sent a message to the Kuang sect. At this time, she couldn't trust others. She could only trust the Kuang sect. At this moment, Gu Qingyu and Wuxia both received the message and began to gather. More than 10 super experts led the 2 weakest cultivators, Uncle Wen and Xia Qiyue, to Xia Ziluo's location. They were invincible. The sudden eruption of the Kuang sect attracted the attention of all the experts in the endless plains. They began to work together. Zaikan and the others were the leaders. Even the mutated beast joined the battle. In order to fight against the Kuang sect, they were all risking their lives. There were no eternal enemies, only eternal benefits. Chapter 457. In the Tao Heart Realm, tens of thousands of flowers bloomed. Hundreds of seedlings contended, laughing proudly in the universe. Nie Tian accidentally obtained a heaven-seeking divine medicine. After swallowing it, his battle strength skyrocketed, and he became the first person to step into the monarch realm. He only needed to comprehend one great Tao law, and the profound meaning origin to reach the greater success realm. Wherever the heaven-splitting axe passed, even the superclass would have to retreat. There were many people who had such opportunities. Yi Feng kept a low profile, but he had many opportunities. He did not fight with the Guangzong head-on. At least until now, he had never fought with the Guangzong. Because he was alone, he never traveled with others. Now that he had obtained a divine medicine, he stepped into the monarch realm, and his battle strength could reverse yin and yang. Under the guidance of the bloodline, Zetian obtained the supreme treasure, the sacred Qilin blood, and then disappeared. Yi Linchen, the opponent of the fifth great emperor, was still strong. However, he was a tragic figure. Until now, he did not have much luck. Many experts had suppressed his limelight. If he did not have heaven-defying luck, he might have been suppressed in this era. The golden era was so cruel. The divine dragon King Yang was like a mutated beast in human form. He was so powerful that he defied the heavens. He was the most powerful competitor to prove his Tao. Xian Yan had become the biggest shit-stirrer in the Tao Heart Realm. Wherever he went, there would be a reign of terror. He completely relied on his subconscious to do things. Whoever blocked his path would be killed by him. If he took the initiative to attack, his combat strength wouldn't be much. At least, he wouldn't be able to pose a threat to a true peak existence. However, if anyone dared to retaliate and provoked his ferocious nature, then it would be over. He could overturn the heavens. No matter what supreme treasures or divine herbs, no one else would have a share. Whether it was edible or not, he would take it all. The experts could not argue with a madman. Even Jekin was flustered and exasperated. There was no benefit in fighting with him. Instead, they would be injured and help others. Therefore, wherever he appeared, in less than half an hour, everyone would run away, including the Guangzong. On this day, Xia Ziluo finally found the place where the sacred blood gene in her body was agitated. However, she was being watched by many people and could not do anything. She could only lead the crowd away and wait for the mad sect's support outside the mountain 100 miles away. Xia Ziluo was very smart. She sent a message to see Wuxia to separate with Xia Qiyue and head to the designated location. Meanwhile, Gu Qingyu and the others rushed towards her. This trick was used beautifully. No one cared about Lin Wutian. After all, he was just a junior of the Kuang sect. He wouldn't care about Xia Qiyue. After all, Xia Qiyue's current combat strength was far inferior to that of a real superclass expert. Xia Qiyue was dressed plainly. She and Lin Wutian tried their best to find a remote path to move forward. They didn't emit any true essence fluctuations as they quickly approached the location Xia Ziluo had determined. It was a vast mountain range. As soon as he arrived, his qi and blood surged. He couldn't control it. The sacred blood gene was awakening. He didn't need to take the sky dragon's sacred blood to activate it. In the depths, little Tian, you stay outside. If someone approaches, don't fight to the death. If you can leave, leave. Xia Qiyue gratefully looked at Lin Wutian and said in a low voice, Uncle Xia, go in quickly. I will definitely complete the task given by Master. Lin Wutian was as cold as a sword. He was emotionless as he stood there. He was like a simple sword that fit between heaven and earth. Xia Qiyue nodded and quickly rushed into the mountain range. Her figure flashed and disappeared. There weren't many people here. It was very remote. The flowers were red and the willows were green. Clear water surrounded the mountain range. There didn't seem to be anything special. Xia Qiyue looked at the clear stream converging. A waterfall poured down from the mountain peak on the opposite side, forming a huge water curtain. She couldn't help but speed up. Under the waterfall was a huge deep pool. It was incomparably deep and cold. The faint pressure was almost negligible. The call from the soul made Xiaqiyue excited. Otherwise, she wouldn't have thought that there was a treasure here. Behind the waterfall. Xiaqiyue confirmed the final location. She leaped over the deep pool and rushed into the waterfall. There was actually another world behind it. It was a huge cave that almost connected the entire mountain range. A huge dragon-shaped skeleton was entrenched in the cave. It was unknown how long it had been dead. The golden bones exuded the majesty of the great Tao. It was extremely restrained. The outside world couldn't sense it at all. However, as soon as she entered the cave, she could feel the terrifying aura of death. It made people not dare to approach. Xiaqiyue took a deep breath. She didn't know how the dragon died here. Was it killed or did it transform into the Tao on its own? Dong dong dong, Xiaqiyue kowtowed a few times. Then, she got up and scanned the dragon-shaped skeleton. She found that the skeleton wasn't broken. She knew that it had transformed into the Tao on its own. Then Xiaqiyue went deep into the cave and found a drop of golden blood hanging in the air. It was blooming with light and powerful energy constantly surging. It was still full of energy after thousands of years. The outside world was protected by a layer of transparent barrier. This was a drop of life essence blood condensed by the dragon before it transformed into the Tao. It was waiting for a fated person. It was protected by a formation, so it hadn't been destroyed until now. Xiaqiyue was excited. She clenched her fists and mobilized the sacred blood in her body. She slowly approached the barrier. After touching the transparent barrier, she could break it with a touch. It didn't resist her at all. Hua. Once the barrier was broken, the sacred blood flew by itself. Xiaqiyue directly merged into her body. Boom. The sacred blood exploded in her body. It turned into a terrifying energy that attacked her limbs and bones. Ah! Xiaqiyue screamed and fainted. Then a terrifying aura came from the depths of the mountain range. It rushed into the clouds and alarmed the entire Tao heart world. Xia Ziyue was overjoyed. She immediately said, "Brother has succeeded. Thank you for your help. I will always remember this kindness in my heart. Now is not the time to say thanks. His position has been exposed. Let's go and help." Gu Qingyu said in a deep voice. Xiao xiao xiao. Hundreds of figures in the Tao heart world streaked across the sky and rushed toward the mountain range. They were all experts among experts who wanted to fight for the dragon blood. Lin Wutian held his sword and stood behind a mountain rock. He was so restrained that he looked like a simple blunt sword. No one cared about him at all. The first to arrive was that terrifying beast in human form. It glanced at the mountain range and didn't find Lin Wutian. It walked toward the mountain range. Hua. A cold and emotionless sword light directly cut through time and space. It streaked past the beast in human form. It was as fast as lightning and couldn't be dodged. No matter how powerful the beast in human form was, it couldn't completely avoid the sword. The sword chi pierced through and the sword light cut through its skin. Blood stained the ground as it flew out of the valley. Xiao xiao xiao. Lin Wutian took the opportunity to slash out hundreds of times and cut through time and space. The beast in human form was defeated and couldn't organize its strength to counterattack. However, the beast in human form was ultimately the most terrifying group of people. It kept dodging. Other than the first sword that injured it, the rest didn't hurt it. It could only make it retreat in a sorry state. Xiao. More than 10 people followed closely and landed outside the valley. Lin Wutian withdrew his sword and retreated to the entrance of the valley. He looked at everyone coldly. Who is he? What a sharp sword move. What a strong heart of sword. Many people didn't know Lin Wutian, but this battle made him completely famous. After so many years, this beast in human form had never been injured. Now he was injured. He seems to be Gu Qingyu's disciple. His name is Lin Wutian. Someone recognized him and became vigilant. The people of the arrogant sect were all freaks. Although there were few of them, especially the inner disciples, there were only 6 or 7 people in total. However, all of them had the potential to prove their Tao. The beast in human form had a cold face and a strong aura. His eyes were full of murderous intent. Very good. You are the first person in thousands of years to hurt me. I'll give you the death penalty. The beast in human form spoke for the first time. Today for Lin Wutian he broke 2 records in a row. At this moment, he summoned a cold sword that could steal people's souls. The sword was not out of its sheath, but it already had a murderous aura. Xiao. More and more strong people gathered. The people of the arrogant sect hadn't arrived yet, so they saw an opportunity. However, when Jikan saw that the beast in human form was injured, he had a different idea. Now that Yi Qinghan's life was unknown, the beast in human form was the beast in human form. Jikan arrived with his sword, but his eyes were fixed on the beast in human form. The beast in human form frowned as he looked at Lin Wutian. He couldn't sense Lin Wutian's aura at all. He didn't know how strong Lin Wutian was. Now that Jikan was able to detect his weakness, he didn't dare to move. Lin Wutian stood at the entrance of the valley motionless. No one could sense him with their divine senses. They were shocked and didn't dare to move. Back off. I won't kill you. At this moment Qingyang appeared. He looked down at Lin Wutian and said calmly. Lin Wutian's breathing was calm. He knew that he wouldn't be able to stop so many strong people. Even if the entire arrogant sect came, they might not be able to stop them. However, if he retreated now he would be pushing Xia Qiyue to a dead end. A battle between strong people was unpredictable. Just as Qingyang was about to attack, the troublemaker appeared again. Perhaps he was affected by the divine blood, but Xianyang appeared at the entrance of the valley. He looked at everyone and released a terrifying aura. He was about to draw his sword. The beast in human form was in a bad mood. He looked at Xianyang and roared, "Scram!" It would have been better if he hadn't said it, but as soon as he said it, the shapeshifter regretted it. Arguing with a lunatic at this time. Wasn't that just asking for trouble? Indeed, Xianyang's aura turned cold. He drew his sword and stabbed out. Although it wasn't strong enough, it was enough to make everyone helpless. If they counterattacked now, Xianyang would definitely be able to use his full power. Whoosh 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 that the beast in human form dodged the attack and became even more depressed. He looked at everyone and said coldly, "Are you interested in killing this lunatic first? How can someone like him prove his Tao? He's wasting our opportunity." Qingyang frowned. Killing a lunatic wasn't a good idea. However, Xianyang was too annoying. Wherever the treasure appeared, he would cause chaos. Leaving him alive would be a disaster. However, Jikan was interested. They would work together to kill Xianyang first. If there was a chance, they could kill the beast in human form. That way, other than Qingyang, no one would be a match for them in the Dao Heart realm. Kill. Some people were at a disadvantage because of Xianyang. Chapter 458. Outside the valley chaos ensued. Xianyang was a madman. He wasn't afraid of death at all, nor was he afraid of the enemy's numbers. He was forced to use his strongest power, and everything within 100 li of him was destroyed. He moved mountains and seas, forcing everyone to retreat. Jikan, the shape-shifting beast, and a few other experts joined the battle. Suddenly, the sky fell and the earth cracked. At this time, everyone realized that Xianyang hadn't used his full strength, or perhaps he hadn't been forced to use his strongest power. The danger of death made Xianyang go crazy. He actually showed signs of coming to his senses. The 13 swords of the divine gate broke through the mountains and rivers. One sword turned into 13 swords, and finally 10,000 swords, and attacked everyone. Even Lin Wutian, who was frozen in place, was attacked. Xianyang was a troublemaker. He stirred up trouble wherever he went. He only recognized treasures and not people. Xiao dat boom boom boom. Outside the mountain range, the sword energy split open the mountain rocks and flattened the valley. The sword energy cut through the waterfall and the mountain was directly cut open. The cave became an open space. The giant dragon skeleton blocked the sword energy, allowing Xia Qiyue, who was behind it, to survive. At this moment, Xia Qiyue's body was emitting a golden light. The dense aura of the divine dragon filled the air and kept strengthening. Her body was bathed in a river of blood. The divine dragon genes in her body were completely activated. She was even stronger than the first emperor's bloodline of the heavenly dragon dynasty. Gulp! The dragon blood in Xia Qiyue's body was almost boiling. It flowed endlessly, and one could even hear it from afar. Fortunately, Xianyang came out halfway. Otherwise, Xiaqiyue wouldn't have had the chance to evolve. Atavism. Time. What Xiaqiyue needed now was time to completely absorb the heavenly dragon's sacred blood. She would transform into a true ultimate existence. She might not lose to Yi Qinghan, and would definitely surpass Xia Ziluo and the others. However, time waited for no one. Jikan and the shape-shifting beast were too strong. Kenyang also joined the battle, wanting to end this speechless battle as soon as possible. Boom. Xianyang was sent flying, revealing his white bones. This angered him even more. His face was ferocious. At this moment, the people of the insane sect also arrived. They directly pounced on Jikan and the others. Yin Yunbei and Zifei also appeared suddenly. They each held a dagger and cut open the necks of two superclass experts. Their blood splattered everywhere. Even superclass experts couldn't escape assassination. In a split second, all the heroes were locked in a fierce battle. However, no one had expected that Xianyang would attack indiscriminately. He even attacked the people of the Kuang sect. Suddenly, a bloody mist filled the air. More than a dozen people of the Kuang sect were injured at the same time. The others were unable to defend against him and were all injured. Whoosh! The crowd parted and looked at Xianyang angrily, especially those from the Kuang clan. Are you pretending to be crazy or are you doing this on purpose? Can't you see that I'm helping you? Nie Tian rebuked angrily. Don't talk about him, he's really crazy. Let's defend first. We'll talk after this is over. Xiazi Luo's expression was ugly. If it weren't for the Yellow Springs Hell map, she really would have been pierced by Xianyang's sword. The people of the crazy sect blocked the entrance. They did not have time to heal their wounds. They just looked at Zhe Kan and the others defensively. No one was willing to give way. Xianyang murmured. He stared at the valley and seemed to be attracted by the smell of dragon blood. He drew his sword and hacked at the people of the Kuang sect. He wanted to enter the valley and fight for the treasure. Ding! Gu Qingyu used his monarch weapon. The heavenly martial sword tore through time and space and slashed at Xianyang. Xianyang knew that it was a threat and took the initiative to dodge. He looked at the heavenly martial sword in Gu Qingyu's hand cautiously. His turbid eyes lit up. Zhe Kan and the others did not attack Xianyang. They wanted to wait for him and the people of the crazy sect to be injured, so that they could reap the benefits. Xianyang was crazy, but it did not mean that he was stupid. If he attacked now, he would be seeking death. He kept shaking his head and looked at the people of the crazy sect and Zhe Kan in confusion. At least he could tell that they were from two different factions, and they did not fit in. Xiazi Luo exhaled. This troublemaker was not completely useless. At least he could buy some time. Everyone, the things in the valley belong to the heavenly dragon sacred dynasty. Don't interfere. I, Xiazi Luo, owe you a favor. When I attain Dao in the future, I will repay you tenfold. Xiazi Luo said in a deep voice. Xiazi Luo, this is a great emperor's opportunity. How are you going to repay us? Zhe Kan mocked disdainfully. There is more than one great emperor's opportunity in the Dao Heart realm, right? If you want to fight with the crazy sect for this opportunity, it depends on whether you are strong enough. Stan Wuxiejin said in a domineering and majestic voice. Outside the valley, the experts were not willing to retreat. Xianyang kept looking at the valley and licked his lips. He was drooling. As long as Xianyang was here, this battle was destined to be chaotic. Who will lead this lunatic away? The shape-shifting expert frowned. This lunatic's combat power might be on par with his, but he was not afraid of death or injury. He could restrain many people. As long as he was here, this battle would be so oppressive that everyone would have to defend against him at all times. The experts rolled their eyes and pretended not to hear. They might be able to obtain treasures if they stayed here. Not to mention the danger of luring a lunatic away. It might even be life-threatening. None of the experts were willing to do such a stupid thing. They were all waiting. Zhe Kan and the others did not know that Xiaqiyue was already in the valley. Otherwise, they would not be waiting like this. They could not be blamed. Xiaqiyue's combat power was like trash in their eyes. Even if she was in the valley, they would not be able to obtain any treasures. Hence they did not think too much about it. Just as both sides were getting anxious from waiting, the heavens and earth cracked. The great emperor's tribulation was vast and mighty. It spread from the endless universe to the Tao heart realm. The terrifying pressure made it hard for the experts to breathe. What's going on? Someone is proving their Tao? Zakin asked in shock. No. This is impossible. How can there be someone who is about to prove their Tao in the endless universe? The experts were furious. Weren't they fighting so hard to prove their Tao? If someone else got it first, why would they waste their energy? Is it Di Shang? Isn't Di Shang in the Tao heart realm? Qingyang frowned and scanned the crazy sect. He was shocked when he did not find Di Shang among them. I am here. I am not the one who started the great emperor's tribulation in the endless universe. Di Shang appeared quietly. It was obvious that he had been hiding here for a long time, and was just waiting for an opportunity. The people from the crazy sect looked at each other. There were no more experts in the endless universe. There should not be anyone proving their Tao. Sister Qinxue seems to be in the endless universe. Could it be her? Yi Mingxi was hiding at the back, protecting Uncle One. She scratched her head and muttered in surprise. Only Jian Qinxue was a true super expert in the endless universe. The others came to the Tao heart realm to find a miracle of proving their Tao. They had worked so hard and were even prepared to give up their lives. Yet, they were going to lose to a woman who had given up on proving her Tao. It was simply unbearable. Kill our way out. We must not let her prove her Tao first. The shapeshifter was furious. He took the lead and rushed out of the Tao heart realm. The people from the crazy sect were shocked. They could not care less. They looked at Xia Ziluo and said, "Quickly take Brother Xia away. We have to rush back." Whoosh! Xia Ziluo was even more anxious. He flew into the valley and rushed out with the unconscious Xia Qiyue on his back. The experts rushed out of the Tao heart realm crazily. They killed their way out of the Milky Way road, wanting to kill the person who was proving her Tao. At this moment, Jian Qinxue was also puzzled. The great experts had already gone to the Tao heart realm. Why were the people in the endless universe proving their Tao first? Whoosh! Jian Qinxue stepped out of the crazy sect. He looked at the rolling thunder in the sky and the long river. Terrifying lightning tore through the sky, wanting to destroy time and space and destroy this golden world. More and more dark clouds accumulated, covering the sky and the sun. The endless universe was plunged into darkness. It was impossible to tell where the person was proving his Tao. In the depths of the eastern wilderness, the little golden crow was bored on the owl war star, and had run back to the mountain of flames. It was rolling around happily. However, it was awakened by the terrifying pressure. It looked outside and could not help but be shocked. The great emperor tribulation was not an ordinary thunder tribulation. This thing could destroy hundreds of star regions in an instant. More importantly, it found that the thunder tribulation was gathering in the eastern wilderness. Someone in the eastern wilderness is proving his Tao? Why didn't I know? The little golden crow was curious. It flew into the center of the eastern wilderness and scanned around. It did not find any experts who could prove their Tao. It could not help but fly outside. When it reached the border, it found that a terrifying aura was rising rapidly. The divine lotus from back then was swaying and emitting divine light. It was becoming more and more sacred and was gradually transforming. The divine lotus left the water and evolved into a young girl. She was breathtakingly beautiful. With the lotus root as her body and lotus leaves as her dress, her divinity was soaring. Her skin was crystal clear and could be broken with a flick of a finger. Her flesh and blood were as pure as a precious divine medicine. This was a real woman. In terms of beauty, she surpassed Medusa. In terms of power, she surpassed Xia Ziluo. In terms of purity, she was not inferior to Emperor Ye's heart. She had gathered countless advantages and no flaws. She was out of the mud but not dirty at all. Beautiful but not demonic. The young girl was barefoot. She was like a dragonfly skimming the surface of the water. She stood on the surface of the water and absorbed the spiritual chi of heaven and earth. Specks of divine light circled around her body, like a dancing goddess. Every move of hers drove the Tao of heaven and earth. The origin came out and all laws submitted to her. It was her. She was the one who started the Great Emperor Tribulation. No one would have thought that the first person to start the Great Emperor Tribulation in the endless universe would be a divine lotus medicine that had never been born before. She had seen Medusa's beauty and Emperor Ye's kindness and purity. Their appearances were somewhat similar, but her temperament was fundamentally different from theirs. Her allure came from her bones. She wanted men to devour and ravage her, but she was so holy that no one dared to approach her. She gave off a very contradictory feeling. The little golden crow was getting closer and closer to the valley. It had followed the parrot for so many years and hadn't learned anything. It had only learned to be wretched. Wow, what a beautiful woman. The little golden crow was drooling. It restrained its aura and even its temperature. It was like an ordinary gray crow as it stared fixedly at the young girl. The young girl smiled faintly. Her world-toppling beauty broke through the shackles of time and space, surpassing all women. Her gentle smile seemed to overtake tens of thousands of years. It was as if even the lightning tribulation couldn't bear to strike her. Her slender, jade-like fingers were as white as jade. They were so soft that they seemed boneless. They stretched out toward the little golden crow. This divine beast actually didn't have the desire to attack, and only wanted to get closer to her. I never thought that I would be able to see a second golden crow divine beast. The heavenly voice was like Emperor Ye's music. It was extremely pleasing to the ear. Chapter 459. In the eastern wasteland, the girl walked gracefully, her fingertips wrapped around the little golden crow's claws. No matter how hard it tried to fly, it couldn't escape from her fingertips. The little golden crow panicked. Only now did it realize how terrifying this little girl was. She could actually control the order of an area, and it couldn't even use a 9th-grade fire source. Little beauty, supreme beauty, I didn't mean to intrude here. I'll leave now. The little golden crow explained in a flattering manner. Why is it different from that old golden crow? It doesn't have such a glib tongue. Have you seen the spirit-devouring divine eagle? The girl was astonished. Her words revealed the truth. The little golden crow was astonished. This divine lotus had actually seen its father. How many years had she cultivated before she could transform? It was so shocked that it forgot about the so-called spirit-devouring divine eagle. Little thing, wait for me here. I'll go through the tribulation first, then I'll come find you. The girl was wearing a phoenix coronet and robes. Her divinity radiated in all directions. With a slight movement, all the laws in the world were under her control. The little golden crow looked at the girl's back in shock. Its body trembled as it muttered, "Too powerful. She's even more powerful than that freaky Qing Han." In order to avoid harming the innocent, the girl stepped into the imperial domain and entered the wilderness. She stood on a dead star, waiting for the lightning tribulation to descend. The tribulation clouds covered the sky and the earth. The world rumbled, and the great Tao became restless. The 6 sources and laws had all descended. Not a single one was missing. The divine lotus had experienced 1,000,000 years and cultivated all the sources of the great Tao. Once she proved her Tao, she would sever the Tao of everyone in the endless universe. Boom! The first bolt of lightning pierced through the galaxy and illuminated the entire plane. It directly attacked the wilderness. Whoosh! The lightning traversed time and space and appeared in the wilderness. The divine lotus girl waved her hand, and a barrier of divine light appeared around her. It could block all attacks. After the lightning touched the barrier, it was constantly weakened. It couldn't penetrate the barrier's defense at all. Whoosh! The lightning was unwilling to give up. It angrily rushed into the barrier. The barrier's divinity radiated in all directions, and a treasure light soared into the sky. The young girl stretched out her hand and pointed at the lightning in the air. The lightning rushed in from outside the barrier, but it was entangled by her jade fingers. It turned into a softball and followed her jade fingers. If an outsider saw this, their eyes would definitely pop out of their sockets. Such a strange thing had never happened during the great emperor's tribulations. The young lady had already cultivated the Taiji Yin and Yang to the extreme. She danced gracefully on the dead star. Lightning passed through her body and unexpectedly appeared on her other hand. It didn't cause any harm to the divine lotus young lady. Instead, She used the lightning to refine her flesh, causing her flesh to be filled with divine light. Precious light wandered about, making her seem even more divine. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, the lightning changed from 1 to 2, and then from 2 to 4. There were more and more lightning bolts, and they were stronger and stronger. Step by step, the lightning bolts gave the girl a chance to grow stronger. She did not panic, and she became stronger and stronger, more and more divine. Boom. Hundreds of strong cultivators rushed out from the Tao Heart world. The stars moved, and they rushed against the Milky Way road. They killed their way into the endless universe. They wanted to kill the person who was going through the tribulations before she succeeded. The people of the crazy sect followed closely. They all thought that the person who was going through the tribulations was Jianqinxue. Unfortunately, Jianqinxue was also looking at the wilderness in a daze. She had never seen the young lady in the depths before, but she felt that she was very familiar. She looked a little like Emperor Yi, and also a little like Medusa. It was very strange. The last people that the young lady of the Divine Lotus had seen were Emperor Yi and Medusa. Both of them were peerless beauties. Thus, when she manifested her physical body, she was more or less affected by them. Her appearance was indeed somewhat similar to them, but she appeared more divine. After all, she had cultivated bitterly for 1,000,000 years. Her understanding of the Great Path might have surpassed Emperor Yi and Medusa's. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Stan Wuxia and Guqingyu gave up on the main group and soared into the sky, trying to overtake the other heroes. Di Longtian evolved a 10,000 zhang long golden dragon. It tore through space and swept towards the end of the Milky Way road, chasing after the shapeshifters. The other heroes chased after each other, unwilling to be outdone. This could be considered a different kind of competition. For some reason, Xian Yan also followed them out. He rushed towards the end of the Milky Way road in a daze. Others were killing the Tao-proving cultivators, but he was just following the trend. In the wilderness, the dead star had been pierced by lightning and shattered into pieces. The Divine Lotus young lady was almost surrounded by lightning. Countless lightning dragons were invincible. The enchantment was getting weaker and weaker. She also began to use all of her strength to disperse the lightning punishment. Her flesh was refined to perfection. Half a day later, 7 or 8 real supreme existences crossed thousands of miles and came to the wilderness. They looked at the Divine Lotus young lady who was drowned. They couldn't see her face clearly, and they couldn't be sure of her identity. However, they could feel that she was a woman, so they were more certain that she was Jianqinxue. When did she become so powerful? Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air and asked in horror. The lightning punishment can't do anything to her. Everyone's pupils shrank, and they trembled with fear. The first thing a great emperor needed to do was to kill the strongest of the younger generation and eliminate the danger. At this moment, Jianqinxue came over. Everyone recognized her and was furious. Only then did they realize that Jianqinxue wasn't the one who was going through the punishment. At this moment, even the people of the Kuang sect panicked. Who is she? Who has seen her before? Zakin was horrified. He didn't dare to get close to the wilderness for fear of being dragged in by the great emperor tribulation. They hadn't reached that stage yet. Once they were dragged in, they would die. No one knew. Even if Yi Qinghan came back, he wouldn't know that she was the Divine Lotus. It was just that the Divine Lotus young lady knew him. Boom! A thick lightning covered thousands of miles and surrounded the young lady. The great emperor tribulation was like this. It wouldn't stop until one was dead. Therefore, there might not be a great emperor in several generations. Not to mention how difficult it was to pass the great emperor tribulation. It was extremely difficult to reach the critical point of the great emperor realm. To reach the great perfection of the great emperor realm, one's great Tao origin had to reach the great accomplishment realm. 5 elements. 6 Tao. 10,000 laws. The young lady's hands formed seals. Divine light rushed into the sky. She forcefully used all of her great Tao origin to suppress the lightning tribulation. When she used all of her great Tao origin, the heavenly Tao rumbled. A divine light pierced through and bathed her in divine light. The great Tao of heaven and earth approved of her. The great Tao of heaven and earth also approved of her. The lightning tribulation collapsed on its own. The tribulation cloud scattered. An exceptionally beautiful face faced the crowd. Everyone's faces turned pale, and they continuously retreated. Strange phenomena appeared between heaven and earth. Divine dragons flew into the sky and phoenixes cried out. They danced around the young lady. Although they were illusory, they were vivid and lifelike. It's you. Xianyan didn't retreat. Instead, he stepped forward and glared at the young lady. He was incomparably furious. The Divine Lotus young lady looked at Xianyan in astonishment. She had never seen him before. She couldn't help but ask curiously, "You've seen me before?" Xianyan had mistaken the Divine Lotus young lady for Medusa. In fact, they looked quite similar at first glance. However, upon closer inspection, the Divine Lotus young lady and Medusa were fundamentally different. They didn't look alike at all. The crowd exploded. They looked at Xianyan in shock. They were really afraid that this madman would anger the great empress. "We don't know him." Everyone spoke at the same time. They continuously retreated to the side. Even Kwang Sek's people moved out of the way. "It's you." Xianyan's eyes widened. His voice was hoarse. He wanted to draw his sword. The Divine Lotus young lady was extremely dignified. She had the dignity of a Medusa. She looked down on Xianyan, her aura becoming increasingly cold. The dignity of a great emperor could not be blasphemed. Xianyan drew his sword like a madman. He drew his sword against a great emperor. Moreover, this was an extraordinary great emperor. Even if it was her, seizing a title would be extremely easy. It would be much easier than Yi Qinghan. Hua! The divine sword split apart the void, turning into lightning. It was unstoppable as it directly hacked towards the young lady. The young lady frowned. Because she was a great emperor, her mental state was different. She wasn't willing to bicker with a madman. She reached out her jade hand and directly grabbed the sharp sword. No matter how Xianyan struggled, he couldn't break free. Everyone was shocked. They didn't expect a true great emperor to be like this. She wasn't someone who hadn't proven her Tao at all. Sung, everyone retreated. They didn't dare leave, nor did they dare speak too much. Boom. A ray of divine light blasted into Xianyan's brain, sending him flying. The Divine Lotus young lady snatched the divine sword and played with it. Then she looked at everyone. Everyone's breathing quickened. The shapeshifters swallowed their saliva. They recognized that the young lady was shapeshifters, but they didn't know what her true form was. They bowed and said, "Junior is a shapeshifting lightning snake. Greetings, great emperor. You want to kill me?" The young lady looked down at everyone and asked. Junior definitely wouldn't dare. We just felt the tribulation of a great emperor and came to pay our respects. Kenyang replied without hesitation. Supreme Great Emperor, we came back from the Tao Heart world just to see your glory. We definitely don't want to kill you. However, we don't know if those people want to kill you. Zaikan looked at the experts of Kwang sect. Seeing them draw their swords in defense, he sneered. Zaikan, what nonsense are you talking about? Di Shang rebuked angrily. Did I say anything wrong? The Kwang sect has always been strong and never allowed others to surpass us. Now that we control the endless plains, we definitely won't allow others to covet the peak of the plains. The great emperor has proven her Tao, and is not a member of the Kwang sect. Don't you want to kill her? Zaikan said solemnly. That's right. Supreme Great Emperor, the Kwang sect is now domineering and dominating the endless plains. Now that you have proven your Tao, there must be a conflict of interest between you and them. We are worried that they will harm you, so we are here to help you. Some experts knew that they couldn't prove their Tao anymore and started to hit the Kwang sect while they were down. They hoped to form a good relationship with the great emperor. At least, they wouldn't be enemies and could save their lives. The Divine Lotus young lady looked at the people of Kwang sect coldly. Her eyes flashed with killing intent. Great Emperor, please understand. We thought that the person who proved her Tao was a disciple of our sect, and we are here to protect her. They are the ones who are here to kill her. We have no intention of killing her. Gu Qingyu said. We have no conflict of interest with the person who proved her Tao. Why would we attack the Supreme Great Emperor? We just want to overthrow your rule. Zaikan smiled evilly. He bowed to the Divine Lotus young lady and said, Great Emperor, please understand. The endless universe is now the territory of the Kuang sect. Now that you have proven your Tao, there is a serious conflict of interest between you and them. If you are merciful, they will definitely be a disaster in the future. What a good way to kill someone with a borrowed knife. The people of Kuang sect retreated. They looked at the young Great Emperor with vigilance. They immediately drew their swords and retreated. The young lady stepped out of the wilderness and glanced at the crowd coldly. Her killing intent was everywhere. Chapter 460. Divine Lotus Empress slashed out an ordinary sword strike, but it was as fast as lightning. No one had the will to resist. This was a true peak-level Great Emperor, and one of the best among the Great Emperors. No one could disobey or stop her. Retreat. Di Shang blocked the front and used all of his power to buy time for everyone to retreat. Boom. The swords clashed. The gap between Di Shang and Divine Lotus Empress was too big. One move, the sword broke, the blood splattered, and the body shattered. Di Shang lost miserably. He fell into the crowd and was caught by the other Great Emperors. The Great Emperors flew back and crushed the ground. Di Longtian glared at Divine Lotus Empress and stepped forward. He scolded coldly, "As a Great Emperor, how can you listen to the words of a lowly person? Don't you have your own thoughts? Don't you know how to ask the world?" Di Longtian, this is not the world where Yi Qinghan is still here. Even if he is, he has to obey the will of the Great Emperors. Aren't you afraid of death? Zaikan stepped forward and asked coldly. Humph. Zaikan, if my teacher and senior sister were here, would you dare to stand out and talk like this? See, Wuxia's bloodline erupted. He would rather die than submit. The Great Emperors looked at each other. Jian Qinxue took Uncle Wen and the unconscious Xia Qiyue and retreated. The others all pressed forward, wanting to fight Divine Lotus Empress. Divine Lotus Empress frowned and asked curiously, Yi Qinghan? I seem to have heard this name before. Who is he? What are his characteristics? When Yi Qinghan entered the Eastern Barren territory, he once told Divine Lotus his name. Although it was just a sentence, Divine Lotus still remembered him, although it was very vague. Everyone was shocked. They didn't expect Divine Lotus Empress to know Yi Qinghan. The Great Emperors suppressed their anger. This Divine Lotus Empress was not to be trifled with. If she had a relationship with Yi Qinghan, it would be good. However, they were afraid that Yi Qinghan had offended the Empress before. Was there anything worse than this? Anyway, a battle was unavoidable. They might as well try. Whoosh! See, Wuxia imprinted Yi Qinghan's image and appeared in the air. The devouring spirit eagle perched on his shoulder, and the multicolored snake coiled around his waist. His aura was captivating. At least in this universe, he was unique. Divine Lotus Great Emperor recognized him at a glance and said in surprise, "So it's him. Senior knows my master?" See, Wuxia observed carefully and found that the Divine Lotus Great Emperor didn't hate Yi Qinghan. He heaved a sigh of relief, knowing that there was still a chance today. "We've met twice." Divine Lotus Empress said indifferently. "Great Emperor, my master didn't choose to snatch your Tao fruit before you reached Tao assimilation. I'm sure you know his temperament. We're definitely not people who would take advantage of other people's perilous state, let alone attack you. I hope you can see clearly and not listen to the slanderous words of a lowly person," Si Wuxia said in a deep voice. Zhikan and the others looked embarrassed. They hadn't expected that this newly emerged Great Emperor would know Yi Qinghan. The thought of retreating grew in their hearts. However, they were looking for an opportunity. They didn't dare to provoke this powerful Great Emperor. After all, no one in the endless plains could contend with her. "Where's your master? I want to see him," Divine Lotus Empress said coldly. "Master has entered the cycle of reincarnation. I don't know when he will return," Si Wuxia said truthfully. "Reincarnation?" Divine Lotus Empress frowned and shook her head. "Then don't expect him to come back." Divine Lotus Empress waved her hand, and the void flattened. Medusa and Emperor Yi appeared in the sky. She asked coldly, "Have you seen these two people?" Everyone from the insane sect was shocked. Looking at Divine Lotus Empress's expression, they knew something bad had happened. The superclass cultivator saw hope and immediately said, These two people are also from the insane sect. One of them is called Emperor Yi. She is the little girl holding the guqin. She is Yi Qinghan's disciple. Great Emperor, Ren Huangyi is indeed my eldest senior sister. However, the other person is not a member of the Kuang sect. That fellow has been missing for a long time. Only my master and eldest senior sister know where she went, Si Wuxia quickly explained. Ren Huangyi had once saved Empress Shenlian's life. If it weren't for Ren Huangyi, Shenlian would have been uprooted by Medusa a long time ago. Now that she had proven her Tao, she only wanted to teach Medusa a lesson and return Ren Huangyi a favor. Where is your big senior sister? Divine Lotus Empress frowned and looked around. She didn't see Emperor Yi. She entered the cycle of reincarnation with my master. Si Wuxia smiled bitterly. Divine Lotus Empress's expression suddenly changed. She said coldly, "Take me to see the body." Great Emperor. The people from the insane sect didn't know what Divine Lotus Empress wanted to do. I owe her a favor, and I just want to return it. I don't know if I can bring her back, but I will try my best, Divine Lotus Empress said coldly. Zaikan and the others' expression changed. They didn't expect Divine Lotus Empress to have a connection with Emperor Yi. Fortunately, the people from the insane sect didn't dare to say anything in front of Divine Lotus Empress. If they did, Divine Lotus Empress would think that they were using her to kill Emperor Yi. At this moment, the lightning snake shapeshifter said respectfully, "I am also a shapeshifter. If you don't mind, I am willing to follow you." Divine Lotus Empress thought for a moment and agreed. Gu Qingyu and the others squinted at the shapeshifter. They didn't say anything, but they were vigilant. This shapeshifter was not simple. He would affect Divine Lotus Empress's attitude toward the insane sect. Gu Qingyu and the others began to retreat, heading straight for the Kuang sect. The insane sect now had an outer sect, but there weren't many strong cultivators. The Great Emperor's aura was so powerful that they didn't dare to speak. They entered the inner sect. Yi Qinghan and Ren Huangyi's corpses stood side by side in the ice coffin. The aura of death surrounded them, and there was almost no hope of them waking up. The godly devouring spirit hawk and the multicolored snake lay unconscious beside Yi Qinghan. Divine Lotus Empress saw Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi and confirmed that they were familiar faces. She nodded. "All of you get out." Divine Lotus Empress waved her hand and forced everyone out of the door. All the doors and windows were locked, and the enchantment sealed off the area. No one could break through her enchantment. Divine Lotus Empress pointed her finger at Ren Huangyi's sea of consciousness, and left half of her soul there. The other half relied on Ren Huangyi's soul connection to travel through reincarnation, and rushed to the 9 underworlds. Schwa schwa schwa. Translator. Nyoibo Studio Editor. Nyoibo Studio whirlpools flashed through the reincarnation whirlpools. The connection between Emperor Yi and Divine Lotus Empress was getting weaker and weaker. She pushed her soul to the peak, and the reincarnation profound meaning boosted her speed. She broke through the first layer of hell and entered the second layer, and then the third layer. She traveled through the endless sea of blood, and even if a great emperor tried to stop her, he would be killed with a single palm strike. At this moment, Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi had completed the last stage of the third layer, and killed 4 evil spirit overlords. Just as they were about to enter the 4th layer, a bolt of lightning flashed across the dark sky and blocked their path. The old man frowned. He realized that Divine Lotus Empress wasn't a ghost spirit. Only half of her soul had entered the 9 serenities. He was shocked. "Who are you? What do you think the 9 serenities is? How dare you force your way into reincarnation?" The old man shouted angrily. Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi were also shocked. This woman's temperament was too similar to the combination of Emperor Yi and Medusa. Most importantly, they didn't know this young great empress. Yi Qinghan, Emperor Yi, long time no see. Divine Lotus Empress said calmly. She ignored the old man. "Who are you?" Yi Qinghan asked in surprise. "You don't need to know who I am. I'm here to save you. I'll meet you in the outside world. Just follow my soul." Divine Lotus Empress said calmly. The old man was furious. "Once you enter reincarnation, don't even think about leaving. I left half of my soul outside. This reincarnation can't do anything to me." Just because you can't do it doesn't mean I can't do it. Divine Lotus Empress said proudly. Die. The old man waved his hand and attacked Divine Lotus Empress. His power was no weaker than the 4 evil spirit overlords. Boom! A green lotus appeared behind Divine Lotus Empress. It spun and shot out divine light. She waved her hand and smashed towards the old man. Hua! A sea of blood overturned the heavens and shook the universe. The 2 attacks were unstoppable. Yi Qinghan hurriedly brought Ren Huangyi to the side. He frowned as he looked at the 2 powerful cultivators. Divine Lotus? Could it be the Divine Lotus from the Eastern Barren Territory? Yi Qinghan's spirit fruit flashed, and he knew the identity of the Divine Lotus Empress. Pung. The old man was sent flying for hundreds of miles. The scene was broadcasted to the 18th level of Jiuyu by the Eye of Jiuyu. The experts of Jiuyu were shocked. Half of a great emperor's soul could defeat Guinu? This Guinu was definitely a top-tier great emperor. Dao friend, go back to where you came from. Don't interfere with the karma reincarnation. Otherwise, even if you cultivate for 1,000,000 years, you will still have to bear the consequences. A deep voice sounded in the 3rd level. The terrifying aura suppressed the entire 3rd level. The great emperors didn't dare to say anything. The entire Jiuyu fell into silence. Reincarnation only takes in those who have reached the end of their lives. These 2 have great merits and are still alive. You don't seem to be following the rules. Divine Lotus Empress looked up and stared at the void coldly. Everything has a cause and effect. Reincarnation has never been wrong. The voice said overbearingly. I don't believe you. What if I want to take them away? Divine Lotus Empress asked. Then I will keep you here too. This is karma, and no one can break it. That dignified voice reverberated, filled with will. Divine Lotus Empress smiled and said, Keep me here? I'm afraid this Jiuyu land won't be able to hold me. You think too highly of yourself. You are only a great emperor and have yet to be sealed as a god. Even if you have comprehended all the origins and profound meanings of the great Tao, you are no threat to me. However, since your cultivation is not easy, don't make things difficult for me. The majestic voice was a little angry. Yi Qinghan frowned. He didn't want to drag Divine Lotus Empress into his karma reincarnation, so he said, Tao friend, thank you for coming to save me. But I appreciate it. Go back, I can fight my way out myself. Chapter 461. On the 3rd level, Yi Qinghan and Divine Lotus Empress were standing alone on a bloodbone mountain. Fellow cultivator, please forgive the Kuang sect when you return. If I have offended you in any way, I will definitely give you an explanation when I return. Is that okay? Yi Qinghan said in a deep voice. They're just a bunch of juniors. As long as they don't cross my bottom line, I will spare their lives. Divine Lotus Empress said indifferently. Thank you. Yi Qinghan cupped his fists and said, No need to be so polite. I came here to repay Emperor Ye's kindness. If you don't want to come with me, then we're even. Goodbye. After that, Divine Lotus Empress' body flickered. She streaked across the sky and flew back to Jiuyu. No one from the 9 underworlds came to stop her. Divine Lotus Empress became the first person to enter the reincarnation cycle and return. Even though half of her soul was outside, it was still not easy to do so. Yi Qinghan looked up at the sky, and the pressure dissipated automatically. He couldn't help but sigh in amazement. The universe was indeed vast, and such a strong cultivator had appeared. He was so strong that he could control a domain from a distance and force Divine Lotus Great Emperor to retreat. Continue the test. The old man's face was filled with anger as he vented all of his anger on Yi Qinghan. Shua. Yi Qinghan and Ren Huangyi were teleported to the 4th level. As soon as they entered the 4th level, they realized that it was completely different from the first 3 levels. There was no sea of blood, only endless land and forests. The sky was still dusky, but spiritual herbs were everywhere. It was no longer a place filled with despair and devoid of life. Those who could survive here were all existences with great merits, or those who were at the top of their cultivation level. There were 2 types of merit. The first type was people like Yi Qinghan, who had once saved an entire plain, and was worshipped by countless people. The second type was people who forcefully stole the faith of others and forced living beings to believe in them. If it weren't for Yi Qinghan, the Ghost Emperor would have been the second type of person with great merit. Mission. There are 3 emperors on the 4th floor who are also competing for the title battle. If you kill them, you will advance to the next floor. If you are killed, you will vanish. The old man said coldly. Those who were qualified to participate in the titled battle weren't weak at all. They were definitely top-tier god monarchs. There was a fundamental difference between them and the evil spirit overlord on the 3rd floor. The danger has only just begun. Now that the warm-up is over, it's time to get serious. The old man didn't look pleased. He flicked his finger and 2 golden lights flashed. Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi both had a gold medal in their hands. It was a titled battle plate. There are 5 people fighting for the title on this plane. If you want to enter the 5th level, only 2 people are qualified. Them, or the 2 of you. This token will automatically remind you of their location. Similarly, they will also know your location. After the old man finished speaking, he tore open space and disappeared. The 4th floor was filled with red flowers and green willows. The red sun brought with it a mournful light that enveloped the entire land. There were terrifying experts roaming the endless lands in search of treasures. They completely ignored Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi. The other 3 great emperors who were vying for the title were far away. Yi Qinghan's sea of consciousness displayed their positions. The 3 light spots were in 3 different directions. They weren't very far apart. 2 of the light spots were constantly converging. However, they didn't fight. Instead, they joined forces and rushed towards the other great emperor. On the 4th floor, only 2 of the 5 could be selected. One of them was destined to fall. Hence, teaming up was the best choice. 2 powerful emperors were blocking a young great emperor. The great emperor's killing intent was sharp and cold. Facing 2 great emperors, he wasn't afraid at all. Of the 3 great emperors, one had great merits, while the other 2 relied on their own strength to enter the 4th floor. They were Common Saint Great Emperor, Keilong Demon Emperor, and Lord Violent Tiger. Keilong Demon Emperor and Lord Violent Tiger were both shapeshifters. They naturally chose to team up against Common Saint Great Emperor. Kill. The 2 demon emperors looked at each other and attacked Common Saint Great Emperor from both sides. Boom. Ing. Both sides battled against each other, causing the sky to crumble and the mountains to tremble. Lightning and sword rays slashed across the river. Common Saint Great Emperor was extremely strong and had great merits. His sword aura was unyielding and indestructible. The best defense was offense. One sword turned into 10,000 swords that attacked in all directions. Mountains were flattened, the ground caved in, time reversed and reincarnation appeared. The laws of the Tao wailed as everything was controlled. Slash. Common Saint Great Emperor looked down on all living beings. His strong will allowed him to remain calm in the face of danger. He fought against 2 great emperors without being at a disadvantage. Thousands of sword rays slashed across the river and converged into 2, slashing towards Lord Violent Tiger and Keilong Demon Emperor. Roar. The 2 shapeshifters revealed their true forms. One was a huge tiger and the other was a black dragon. One was in the west while the other was in the east. The dragon claw and tiger claw tore apart the sword rays and slashed towards Common Saint Great Emperor. Hua. The dragon tail slashed across the sky and turned into a bolt of lightning that struck towards Common Saint Great Emperor. The huge tiger swung its front limbs and attacked from the north and south, leaving Common Saint Great Emperor with nowhere to run. Die. Common Saint Great Emperor held his sword with both hands and became one with it. He spun around and tore apart the sky as he rushed towards the dragon tail. Boom. The dragon tail and Common Saint Great Emperor clashed, causing the sky to crumble and the earth to crack. A bottomless abyss appeared on the ground. Common Saint Great Emperor roared in anger as his body started to crumble. However, the sword directly tore apart the dragon tail and rushed towards the sky. Roared at the black dragon cried out in pain and opened its mouth. It sucked in the Common Saint Great Emperor's flesh and blood into its stomach. Boom. The huge tiger suddenly leaped into the sky and grabbed the monarch weapon with its front limbs while biting towards Common Saint Great Emperor. Its speed was as fast as lightning, making it impossible to dodge. Yi Qinghan sensed that the 3 sides were locked in battle and immediately rushed toward the battlefield with Emperor Yi in tow. Xiao that the windmark secret technique was used to its peak. It was traceless and could travel thousands of miles in the blink of an eye, not even leaving an afterimage. Before he arrived, he had already unleashed his berserk strike and slashed across the sky. The two sides were still tens of millions of li away from each other, but as they got closer, Bao Hu and Kai Long became more anxious. They wanted to kill Common Saint Great Emperor, and even if both sides were injured, they had to kill one of them first. 10 million li, 8 million li. Yi Qinghan's speed shocked the three great monarchs, but Common Saint Great Emperor hoped that Yi Qinghan could arrive as soon as possible. At least there would be a chance for them to survive. They did not pay much attention to it as the two battle tokens had already merged together. They all thought that Yi Qinghan was alone, but they did not know that Emperor Yi was standing on Yi Qinghan's shoulder. It was impossible for them to trust each other so much in their cooperation. As such, they did not expect Yi Qinghan and Ren Huangyi to be like this. If they had known, the three great cultivators would have joined forces to take down Yi Qinghan and Ren Huangyi. Unfortunately, they did not know that the two great monarchs were so crazy that they could not wait to kill Common Saint Great Emperor. Mortal Saint Great Emperor wanted to work with Yi Qinghan, so he didn't want to die. He had sunk into a frenzy of killing. If he didn't want to die, he had to hold on until Yi Qinghan arrived. Kill. Common Saint Great Emperor did not care about anything else as he wasted his source energy and started killing. Sila. A sword man and sword as one, slashed towards Bao Hu, wanting to kill him. Die for me. Heaven earth man and sword as one. Wa. The entire fourth level could see three sword rays piercing through the universe and converging into one, trying to break through the shackles. Boom. Tiger Burst Venerable's claw was a monarch weapon. He grabbed the sword in Mortal Sacred Great Monarch's hand while his other claw slammed towards Mortal Sacred Great Monarch's true body. He wanted to force Mortal Sacred Great Monarch to retreat. It was a battle of life and death, a battle of mutual destruction. Kai Long Demon Emperor rushed over from behind, but his speed was not as fast as Common Saint Great Emperor. He could only watch as Common Saint Great Emperor charged towards Bao Hu with no fear of death. The danger of death caused Common Saint Great Emperor to explode once again, slashing past the claws. Unfortunately, Bao Hu had failed. No! Bao Hu roared in shock as he retreated continuously. A battle between experts was decided by a single thought. One careless move would result in a complete loss. Boom! Common Saint Great Emperor as one with his sword, piercing through Bao Hu's body. The sharp sword chi swept through his limbs and bones, instantly killing a peak great monarch. One had to admit that he was extremely strong. Roar! Kai Long Demon Emperor swung his dragon tail, slamming it down from the mountains and rivers, passing over Bao Hu's head and smashing into Common Saint Great Emperor. Boom! Common Saint Great Emperor was smashed into pieces, a drop of blood condensed and rushed towards his Dao body, but his face was pale as he was severely injured. He only had less than 20% of his strength left. Boom! Bao Hu's corpse fell to the ground, crashing into countless mountains. He died with great reluctance. In the cruel Nine Serene Hell, the lives of great emperors were not worth much. There were countless great emperors gathered here for countless eras, countless great emperors. Their lives were worse than dogs, not even comparable to a pet of a great expert. The heavens and earth were merciless, treating all living beings as dogs. Kai Long, I will kill you today. Common Saint Great Emperor said coldly, his black hair fluttering in the wind. That depends on whether you have the ability or not. You won't be able to wait for reinforcements. I will kill you now, then join forces with the newcomers to kill the last expert, and enter the 5th level. Kai Long reverted back to his human form, revealing a black dragon sword. Dragon scales coiled around the back of the sword. The eerie sword light was filled with the chi of reincarnation and death. Roar! Kai Long's speed reached the extreme, enveloping the surroundings, the sword light shredding the emperor's clothes, causing Common Saint Great Emperor to cough out blood. He did not want to risk his life anymore. 20% of his strength was not Kai Long's match. Thus he dodged, hoping that Yi Qinghan would be able to arrive sooner. Kai Long became faster and faster, and his sword aura became incredibly sharp. Sensing that the challenge card was less than 5 million kilometers away, and would arrive in at most 10 breaths of time, He grinned and said coldly, "You can't wait any longer, die." Xiao. Countless afterimages appeared around Common Saint Great Emperor. They were so fast that they could not be seen. Common Saint Great Emperor roared, not wanting to die at the last moment. He erupted with power and used the three-sword Daos as one, tearing apart space and time, rushing out of the encirclement. But a black shadow flashed past. Keilong directly pierced through his body from the back, killing him on a mountain. Keilong was afraid that he would have a chance to counterattack. He grabbed a withered branch and turned it into a monarch weapon, piercing through Common Saint Great Emperor's forehead. A peak-level Great Emperor had fallen. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.